The man merely took one bite of the woman. She attacked him in return, costing him his life. But only a few hours later, the man who had originally died suddenly opened his eyes. Because the woman's flesh and blood have a special ability. In an office somewhere, a woman's photo was being shown on a projector, and the leader was describing her file. This person is the target of this operation. At that moment, a hand interrupted the leader. She doesn't seem to be Caucasian, does she? Judging by her looks, she's clearly Asian. And she looks too weak to be the target. Captain Kim Soo-hyuk, please do not use race and gender as your criteria. She is an extremely dangerous woman. Her name is Anna, also known as Snow White, and she is a boss of Japan's Yamaguchi Gumi. The reason she is called Princess Snow White is that she is a primary supplier of narcotics. The target will be holding a drug party in a hotel. To stop drugs from spreading in Korea, we must use this opportunity to eliminate her. But to ensure public safety, operatives are not permitted to carry firearms. At this moment, a bespectacled man appeared. This mission is somewhat difficult, that's why we sent you. Because you are our top agent, we trust only you, Captain Kim Soo-hyuk. There will be about 30 people at this party, 10 non-combatants, and 20 gang combatants. Kim Soo-hyuk, how many people do you need to handle this case? 3 agents, including myself. Hearing this, the man fell into thought. 3 agents? Isn't that too many? Because the hotel has 3 entry and exit points. To wipe them out completely, that's the minimum requirement. The scene shifts, and Kim Soo-hyuk has arrived at the target floor of the hotel. Seeing an outsider, the punks all felt suspicious, and then scolded him and told him to leave. Kim Soo-hyuk did not answer them. Instead, he reported that he had reached the designated location. The next second, Kim Soo-hyuk flashed a dagger and walked toward them. Seeing this, all the punks also pulled out their weapons. In an instant, their weapons clashed with a grating sound. At the same time, Kim Soo-hyuk's left hand shoved the opponent's arm aside. The next second, the dagger precisely slit the opponent's neck. What followed was a foregone conclusion. In the eyes of Kim Soo-hyuk and his men, how many gang members there were here didn't matter, because no one could defeat their small brotherhood, for they were the black-suited agents of the Security Bureau. A cadre of elites who had crawled out of hell. Moments later, they arrived outside the room where the target was. Then Kim Soo-hyuk began issuing orders. There is only one exit here, seal the exit and take everyone out while you're at it. As Kim Soo-hyuk pulled open the room's door, Anna seemed to sense something as well. But at the moment Kim Soo-hyuk opened the door, the scene before their eyes left everyone stunned. In the room, all that lay there were already dead bodies. Just then, the lights in the room suddenly came on. The sudden light made them all squint involuntarily. Next, Anna's voice followed. The entrance is closed, and the door is locked. What's next? Are you going to kill me here? At this moment, Kim Soo-hyuk was a bit stupefied, because this was the first time in his life he had felt fear. They, who considered themselves the strongest, had no courage to act when faced with Anna. Just then, Anna suddenly launched an attack. The severed head that had been in her hand flew toward them. A man instinctively caught the head. The next second the head's brow was suddenly pierced through, and the man's neck was pierced as well. As the man slowly fell, he too lost his life. Seeing this, the person beside him immediately raised a blade and charged at Anna. Kim Soo-hyuk was just about to stop him, when he heard a bang. The man, who had barely taken 2 steps, had his skull pierced. The man's blood splattered all over Kim Soo-hyuk's face. Next, Anna's mocking voice came. No matter how many ants there are, they're still just ants. What can you do now? At these words, Kim Soo-hyuk was so enraged that veins bulged. But he did not let anger cloud his mind. Instead, he calmly thought through a countermeasure. Anna's abilities exceeded his expectations, but he was unwilling to flee in disgrace. Just as Kim Soo-hyuk was thinking, Anna suddenly shot out a tooth. In just an instant, the tooth was in front of Kim Soo-hyuk's face. Kim Soo-hyuk used all his strength to barely dodge the fatal blow, yet the tooth still grazed his cheek. Looks like your reflexes aren't bad. Then Anna attacked again, and Kim Soo-hyuk used his footwork to dodge nimbly. Just as Kim Soo-hyuk came up to Anna, she pinned him in place with her palm. Anna showed a contemptuous smile, and her muscles bulged all over. Then she threw Kim Soo-hyuk far away. At this moment, Kim Soo-hyuk's heart held only shock. Such terrifying power is simply impossible for a human to wield. As Kim Soo-hyuk was catching his breath, Anna suddenly came at him with a dagger. Then she brought it down on Kim Soo-hyuk's legs. The pain of shattered bones made him cry out uncontrollably. I really like the look on your face right now. I find your expression very enjoyable. Now let's do something more interesting. Hearing this, Kim Soo-hyuk gritted his teeth and said, Is this interesting to you? Are you saying you kill people just for fun? As soon as he finished speaking, Kim Soo-hyuk bared his teeth and lunged at Anna. The next second, his teeth sank into her neck. Then he yanked hard, and a chunk of flesh was torn off by Kim Soo-hyuk. Next he picked up a shard of glass from the floor, and stabbed viciously at the spot he had just bitten. Moments later, Anna seemed to fall silent, her body pressing down on Kim Soo-hyuk. Just then, Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly spat a mouthful of blood, and Anna suddenly sat up. "You really did give me a surprise. As a human, you're the first one to bite my neck." Before Anna could finish speaking, the wound on her neck was gradually healing. This scene that defied common sense shocked Kim Soo-hyuk beyond measure. "What kind of monster are you? Don't try to understand me, because it's meaningless." Then Anna began attacking Kim Soo-hyuk, and agonized wails echoed through the entire room. Moments later, Kim Soo-hyuk's voice gradually faded, and he too lost his life. Seeing this, Anna showed a look of displeasure. Just then, a group of underlings hurried over in a flurry. At this, Anna merely glanced at them. The next second, the man who had been leading them lost his life. "Immediately clean up all the corpses at the scene. We're going back to Japan." The scene shifts to a pier. A group of people are putting lime into an iron drum. And inside the iron drum were the corpses from before. Kim Soo-hyuk's corpse was among them as well. Just then, something abnormal happened. For reasons unknown, Kim Soo-hyuk's corpse suddenly stood up. This astounding scene left the underling in disbelief. "Don't worry, this guy is already dead. If you don't believe me, I'll show you with an experiment." Then the man walked up to Kim Soo-hyuk, and stubbed out his cigarette on his body. Just when the two of them thought nothing was wrong, the burn mark suddenly began to heal. At the same time, Kim Soo-hyuk's eyes began to turn white, and he let out a faint sound. The next second he suddenly opened his eyes, blood-red eyes fixed on the person in front of him. Just moments earlier, the already dead Kim Soo-hyuk had a dream. In the dream, he returned to the moment he was carrying out the mission. This time was a bit different from before. In the dream, it seemed someone was constantly whispering by his ear. And no matter what he said, the teammates behind him gave no response. Just then, a pair of jade-like hands suddenly appeared behind Kim Soo-hyuk, and clamped tightly over his mouth. Anna's figure appeared, and countless arms sprouted from her body, pinning Kim Soo-hyuk in place. She then leaned to Kim Soo-hyuk's ear and whispered, "Congratulations on joining us. And welcome to hell. Just as I expected, you are an interesting person." At that moment, Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly jolted awake from the nightmare. He now found himself in the middle of the open sea. Once he became lucid, he felt an unbearable pain in his head. When he raised his eyes to see where he was, he saw a horrifying scene. The deck was strewn with corpses, slain with extreme cruelty. Just as Kim Soo-hyuk was still immersed in shock, a voice interrupted him. "Captain Kim Soo-hyuk, we're from headquarters, please come back with us." Moments later, they were back on land. Kim Soo-hyuk asked them what had happened on the ship. "We're still working to determine the specifics. We heard you completed the mission, you must be exhausted." Kim Soo-hyuk brushed them off with a few perfunctory words and looked out the car window. "The trip back is a bit long. We hope you can get some good sleep on the way." As soon as he finished speaking, a large amount of white vapor wafted from the car's vents. The drifting white vapor instantly made Kim Soo-hyuk feel short of breath. Before long he passed out. Seeing this, the man in black took out his phone and made a call. "Director, we found the sample. You did an excellent job. Bring him to the lab, we'll perform the surgery immediately." After hanging up, the man trembled all over with excitement. "I finally found him." The scene shifts again. The vehicle transporting Kim Soo-hyuk had arrived at the lab entrance. The man hurried forward excitedly to greet them and ordered all the researchers to assemble. He then urged his subordinates to move quickly. "We've got many more experiments to do afterward." Just as the researchers opened the trunk, he wore a look of terror. What should have been Kim Soo-hyuk in the trunk had become two already dead men in black. A sudden gunshot drew his attention. Then came a bang, and the man was shot in the head. Gunshots rang out again from inside the car. At the same time, the surrounding bodyguards and researchers all collapsed. This sudden anomaly shattered the man's original plan. What on earth caused this? Why did it turn out like this? Before he could figure out why, Kim Soo-hyuk stepped out of the car. When the man saw Kim Soo-hyuk, his face turned to sheer panic, as if he had seen the Grim Reaper. He hurriedly fled the spot, and roared, "Everyone, stop this guy no matter what." Hearing this, Kim Soo-hyuk calmly racked his pistol, then looked toward the oncoming attackers. Before the other's dagger could get close, Kim Soo-hyuk shot him dead. He followed with a round of indiscriminate fire. As Kim Soo-hyuk was firing, an assailant appeared on his right, attempting a sneak attack. His dagger had barely gotten close before it was easily blocked. Then a backhanded shot took him out. Just then, two figures charged at Kim Soo-hyuk again. However, Kim Soo-hyuk easily dodged their killing blows. The next second he grabbed one by the sleeve and tossed him behind him. Then, using the momentum of his body, he shot down the other. the man's face slammed hard into the ground. Before he could react, Kim Soo-hyuk's dagger plunged into his neck. At that very moment, he suddenly sensed danger. Then, with a bang, a gunshot rang out, and blood splattered across the right side of Kim Soo-hyuk's forehead. "Looks like we've taken care of him. Go check and make sure he's dead." Just as the two were about to check, their ankles were shot. Under the car lay the just now dead Kim Soo-hyuk, prone. Immediately, Kim Soo-hyuk sprang up and, with 2 shots, took down the ones coming to check. Another, seeing this, trembled all over in fear. How can someone shot in the head stand up unscathed? As the man quaked in terror, Kim Soo-hyuk slid up to him and knocked his pistol away. Then he clamped both hands tightly around the man's neck. By now, Kim Soo-hyuk was in a killing frenzy, and there was a reason for everything he was doing. His team had given everything for Korea, only to end up as sacrifices, simply because their existence blocked the path of those at the top. At this moment, Kim Soo-hyuk meant to leave them a deep impression. What terrifying consequences await those who provoke a beast? Having eliminated all the security personnel and radiating a powerful killing intent, Kim Soo-hyuk slowly walked toward the man's location. At the same time, he was wondering in his mind, what on earth had happened to his body? He should have died 3 times, yet each time he could stand up unharmed. Moments later, Kim Soo-hyuk came to stand before the man, who by now was trembling all over with fear. "Captain Kim Soo-hyuk, please calm down. I'll explain everything. As long as you don't kill me, I'll help you get promoted." At this, Kim Soo-hyuk said nothing. Instead, he raised his pistol and shot through the man's thigh. A painful howl from the man followed. "Now will you answer my questions honestly? What did you do to me? You seem to be misunderstanding, but I hope you'll hear me out." Before the man could finish, Kim Soo-hyuk shot through his other leg. "Tell me exactly what you did to me." At this moment, the man forced himself through the pain and told the truth. "You should be aware that even if you die, you can be resurrected, and your wounds will heal quickly. Some of Anna's subordinates are the same. They rely on this special ability to rule their country. And I simply want to obtain this special ability." Upon hearing this, Kim Soo-hyuk said in a low voice, "So that was the purpose of sending agents? But as the agents carried out their missions, they obtained no intelligence and instead lost their lives. So you changed the plan and chose the person you thought was the strongest to carry out this mission. And that unlucky person is me?" The man did not answer directly. Instead, he kept trying to brainwash Kim Soo-hyuk. "Now, no matter how dangerous the operation, you no longer need to worry about getting hurt." Kim Soo-hyuk did not respond. Instead, he fired again, shooting through the man's shoulder. "I suppose you know a lot of intel about Anna. But even so, you wouldn't give up. My colleagues all died because of your greed." Hearing this, the man seemed unconcerned. "Those guys are also human. You once said you'd never lose to anyone. Carrying out missions is your job. They were merely following orders, ready to die if necessary. After they died, we even awarded them medals. So why, you damned bastard, are you making trouble for me?" At these words, Kim Soo-hyuk kicked the man hard in the chin. "Shut your filthy mouth. Now, feel the pain they went through." Just as Kim Soo-hyuk's dagger was about to plunge into the man, a sudden bullet knocked it flying. Following Kim Soo-hyuk's gaze, several vehicles appeared not far away, and people were shouting for Kim Soo-hyuk to put his hands on his head and squat down. At this moment, the man finally saw a lifeline and kept pleading for help from the newcomers. Moments later, numerous fully armed personnel got out of the vehicles, all muzzles trained on Kim Soo-hyuk. At this moment, Kim Soo-hyuk knew full well he was in a dangerous position, and immediately moved from his spot to look for cover. As Kim Soo-hyuk tried to escape, all the armed men immediately pulled their triggers. Within just 1 second, Kim Soo-hyuk was riddled with bullets, and then he collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, the man showed a long-lost smile. "Enjoy the little freedom you have left. From now on, you'll be tied up by me and willingly provide me with blood." Just as the man was wantonly mocking Kim Soo-hyuk, a woman's voice came to his ear. "Is that guy Kim Soo-hyuk? Hello, I'm Ayaka, leader of Team 7, the gang you're talking about." The sudden appearance of the woman left the man stunned. He immediately ordered the armed men to shoot her dead. The next second, bullets poured toward the woman like raindrops. But with a blur of movement, the woman appeared behind the armed men. A dazzling flash of blade light followed. The woman's figure flickered in and out among the crowd. At this moment, she was like a reaper, constantly harvesting lives. Those who snapped out of it opened fire on her in unison. But she used the weapon in her hand to keep deflecting the incoming bullets. What followed was a one-sided massacre. Just then, armed men in the distance suddenly took aim at the woman. They pulled their triggers right after. In response, the woman showed no panic at all. Then, with a graceful spin, she sliced the incoming bullets in half. This astonishing scene struck fear into everyone present. What kind of monster is she? Moments later, the woman had taken down all the armed men, and then walked toward the man. Under the moonlight, the woman's silhouette looked especially dazzling. As she approached the man, she casually swung her weapon. Then she gave the prone Kim Soo-hyuk a kick. "Your name is Kim Soo-hyuk, right? Lady Anna asked me to bring you to her." At the mention of Anna, a fierce killing intent flashed from Kim Soo-hyuk. "Get lost, you damned bastards." At this moment, Kim Soo-hyuk seemed unaware that his body had already changed. Two fangs had grown on either side of his teeth. Already loathing Anna, he engaged the woman in a fight. The two traded blows again and again in the dark of night. "You really are impressive." At this time, Kim Soo-hyuk seemed too blood-deprived for his body to dodge accurately. Watching the woman closing in, Kim Soo-hyuk kept thinking of countermeasures. In his current state, he could not sustain a prolonged fight. As the woman charged, Kim Soo-hyuk thought of the only way to defeat her. "I didn't expect you to last this long, but this should end now." No sooner had the woman finished speaking than a powerful force knocked the weapon from Kim Soo-hyuk's hand. Then the woman's longsword thrust into Kim Soo-hyuk's body. But to her surprise, in that moment Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly grabbed her arm. This was Kim Soo-hyuk's plan: trade injury for injury. The sudden move shocked the woman, and she immediately concentrated all her strength into her right arm. The next second, two streaks of blade light flashed. Kim Soo-hyuk's abdomen and left arm were severed, and the woman's head rolled to the ground. Kim Soo-hyuk lay on the ground, gasping for breath, and his eyes were growing increasingly dim. Just as he was about to close his eyes to rest, the woman's voice sounded again. "You're quite a handful, aren't you?" At this moment, Kim Soo-hyuk was utterly shocked inside, as he saw a headless woman standing before him, holding her own head in her hand. This eerie scene kept shattering Kim Soo-hyuk's understanding of reality. Then she personally set her head back onto her neck. "With your current abilities, I imagine Lady Anna will be very fond of you. You did well. When you wake up again, you'll meet Lady Anna." At this moment, even though Kim Soo-hyuk exerted all his strength, he couldn't move an inch. As Kim Soo-hyuk's pupils suddenly contracted, the woman's long sword plunged into his body again. "Now you should be a little more docile. I've already cut off your blood supply, but you're still conscious. It's already late, it's time to take you back." Just as the woman was about to pull out her sword, Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly let out a strange sound. The strange sound piqued the woman's curiosity. The next second, Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly stood up, then lunged at the woman. In response, she was unusually calm. "No matter how you struggle, the outcome will be the same." As she spoke, the woman dipped low and came up beside Kim Soo-hyuk. With a flash of the blade, Kim Soo-hyuk's right arm was chopped off. "If you resist again, I'll cut off all your limbs." As the woman spoke, Kim Soo-hyuk's fist landed on her face. When she steadied herself, she found that Kim Soo-hyuk's arm had already grown back. The next second, Kim Soo-hyuk stepped in and charged again. The woman hastily dodged this strike, but Kim Soo-hyuk's claws still grazed her. As the woman froze for an instant, Kim Soo-hyuk pounced again. Then he sank his teeth into the woman's arm. As her blood drained, the woman finally sensed that something was wrong, and hurriedly slashed at Kim Soo-hyuk several times. But Kim Soo-hyuk did not let go, and kept drawing the woman's blood. The rate of blood loss far exceeded her expectations. If she didn't stop him, she would die here. At that moment, the woman decisively drew her longsword, and hopped backward out of Kim Soo-hyuk's attack range. To stop Kim Soo-hyuk, she had no choice but to sever her own arm. By this time, Kim Soo-hyuk had already drained all the blood from the woman's arm. The next second, Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly let out a roar. Right then, a sudden bullet struck Kim Soo-hyuk. Seeing this, the woman immediately swung her longsword to bat the bullets away. Although she reacted quickly, the bullet still hit her. At the same time, she realized this bullet was different from the usual. There was a strange burning sensation on her body. Before she could react, a group of people suddenly rushed out and surrounded them. Then a young girl stepped out. "Please don't move, or you'll die a terrible death." The girl's appearance interrupted the fight between Kim Soo-hyuk and the woman. The woman showed a panicked expression. With a single order from the girl, everyone behind her raised their pistols. Then they aimed at the legs of Kim Soo-hyuk and the woman, and launched an indiscriminate volley. Without giving the two a chance to react, she continued to command, "Bring out that weapon." Hearing this, everyone immediately took the black cases from their backs. The next second, several bolts pierced through Kim Soo-hyuk. Then a powerful electric current swept through his whole body. He didn't know how much time had passed. The sunset had already appeared. The two of them had endured torment for an unknown length of time. "You must be feeling a lot of pain right now, yes? This time the temperature of the hellfire is twice what it was before. Someone as smart as you should have noticed already, right?" Hearing this, the woman launched into a string of crazed curses. Just then, the woman suddenly launched a sneak attack. However, the girl easily neutralized the attack. Then she stomped down on the woman's forearm, and the pain made the woman let out an involuntary howl. What's wrong? Can't even handle this little bit of pain now. You're going to die by my hand today. Before long your companions will join you. Just then, the girl noticed something unusual. The Kim Soo-hyuk who had been restrained by the electric shocks was now already standing up. This guy can stand up under electric shock? But that's not important. What's important is, why is this guy fine even under sunlight? While the girl was momentarily dazed, the woman seized the perfect opportunity. She then ducked low and sprinted off into the distance. At this, the girl merely glanced at the woman and didn't care, because all her attention was focused on Kim Soo-hyuk. Could he be using what little blood he has left? But even so, he's still exposed to sunlight. Meanwhile, Kim Soo-hyuk was heading toward the others. Just as his claws were about to touch them, the girl suddenly appeared and severed Kim Soo-hyuk's arm. Everyone fall back immediately. Compared to that woman, this guy is even more dangerous. As soon as she finished speaking, the girl's longsword hacked into Kim Soo-hyuk's shoulder. But what happened next surprised her. Kim Soo-hyuk blocked the strike with his wrist. Then the arm that had been severed suddenly grew back. The next second, Kim Soo-hyuk's fist swung toward the girl, but she easily dodged it. At this moment, the corners of the girl's mouth lifted slightly. It seems my choice was right after all. Good thing I didn't go after that woman. Then a powerful force gathered in the girl's hands. Next, that heavy, forceful punch landed hard on Kim Soo-hyuk. With a bang, a burst of white light flared. Where have you been hiding before this? Someone like you should have been found in no time. Why are we only meeting now? As the smoke slowly dissipated, they saw Kim Soo-hyuk holding someone, replenishing his blood. Seeing this, the girl was somewhat shocked. This guy can actually replenish blood in a situation like this? After replenishing his blood, Kim Soo-hyuk looked utterly manic. He then threw back his head and roared. You are indeed no simple opponent, but this far should end. As soon as she finished speaking, the longsword in the girl's hand emitted a dazzling light. Then she chanted an incantation under her breath. Just as she was preparing to go all out, she found that the just now feral Kim Soo-hyuk had toppled straight to the ground. The dramatic turn left the girl speechless. He didn't know how much time had passed when Kim Soo-hyuk seemed to hear someone calling his name. He then slowly opened his eyes. The familiar voice and face snapped him awake. Captain Kim Soo-hyuk, are you awake? Just as Kim Soo-hyuk was about to get up, he realized he couldn't move. Looking down, he found his body bound in layer upon layer of chains. Mr. Kim Soo-hyuk, please listen carefully to what I'm about to say. After assessing your actions, we've decided to eliminate you, because you are now a vampire. Kim Soo-hyuk didn't believe it. What nonsense are you spouting? A vampire? Don't be ridiculous. Vampires can't possibly exist. Suddenly, the girl grabbed Kim Soo-hyuk by the chin. Then she bit open her own finger. As a drop of blood fell, Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly felt an urge to drink it. At that moment he had lost his reason, and tried to break free of the chains on him. This instinctive craving for blood made him extremely manic. The next second, Kim Soo-hyuk returned to his original state. Do you believe me now? At this moment, Kim Soo-hyuk was utterly shocked. What on earth just happened? Captain Kim Soo-hyuk, I don't quite believe it either, but it all really happened. Remember the yacht from before? I found the records from that time. They match what this person described. Are you saying everything on the ship was done by me? It was an indiscriminate slaughter, and it happened while you were unconscious. Did you already know Anna was a vampire? That's right. Our squad's mission is to eliminate vampires. By the rules, I should eliminate you, but I want to give you a chance, become my pet dog. I'll choose to spare you. We share a common enemy, so we don't need to kill each other. We can join forces to take down Anna together. The scene shifts to inside a certain building. Someone has taken over the drug cartel and has absorbed many mafia groups. Then why has no one been able to catch those parasites? Perhaps I never should have assigned this mission to you in the first place. At this moment Ayaka's consciousness was already fading, because Anna had already tortured her body to pieces. Just then, Anna removed the woman's mask and kissed her. The sudden force made the woman's pupils contract instantly. In an instant, the woman's previously damaged body was restored to its original state. Remember, this is your last chance. A moment later, the woman arrived in a certain alley. Anna's words kept repeating in her mind. Bring him before me, this is your last chance. But what the woman didn't know was that behind her, someone had been watching her all along. Meanwhile, inside the sedan, Kim Soo-hyuk looked a bit dazed at this moment. He was constantly turning over in his mind what the girl had just said. You can choose for yourself, die by my hand as a vampire, or become my pet dog and let us take down Anna together. Please be careful, Captain Kim Soo-hyuk. No matter what happened before, those agents sent to kill you are all from the director's faction. So we also had no choice but to come to you. Just then, the girl interrupted Kim Soo-hyuk's thoughts. Your face is full of questions. Do you really not believe the fact that you've become a vampire? Kim Soo-hyuk did not respond. Instead he asked back, why did you bring me here? If not for me, every faction would be targeting you right now. Now that we're tied together and seeking revenge together, isn't that a better choice? Will you trust me? Of course not. To me, the enemy of my enemy is a friend. At least for now, I will choose to trust you temporarily. We've arrived. This is our headquarters, commonly called the Sanctuary. At this, Kim Soo-hyuk raised a doubt. Isn't this just an ordinary church? As you said, that's right, because that way it won't attract attention. No sooner had she finished speaking than the car suddenly accelerated and pulled away. Didn't we already arrive? Why are we leaving again? This is not our destination, and the sanctuary is protected by holy relics. You cannot enter. Even though you are now a member of the squad, you are a victim of the Anna incident. Therefore I've made you a special case to be handled personally by me. In other words, for now you must follow me, or the only thing waiting for you is death. The two then arrived at a hotel. This is a hotel exclusive to the Vatican Suicide Squad. It records no personal information. And for the time being, Kim Soo-hyuk would eat and live with her. She introduced herself as Mirror. As for the famous Kim Soo-hyuk, she had long heard of him. You must have a lot of questions right now. Ask away. What Kim Soo-hyuk cared most about was the so-called vampires. Mirror smiled faintly. It seemed this man was gradually accepting his situation. Vampires truly exist in this world. Like the legends, they live by feeding on human blood, and they possess bodies beyond ordinary limits and endless lifespans. Most vampires trace their origin to the progenitor's blood, but Anna is the only survivor in 1,000 years. He recalled how he had once bitten through Anna at that time. Could it have been then that I accidentally absorbed the progenitor's blood? Then how does the Vatican squad kill them? Ordinary vampires under exposure to sunlight will quickly self-immolate and die. Ayaka almost died from this before. However, you can function normally in daylight. This may be why Anna pays special attention to her. With this special advantage, the squad could use Kim Soo-hyuk to confront the Anna group head-on. The most important thing now was to first increase Kim Soo-hyuk's combat power. Otherwise he wouldn't even be able to get close to Anna. The woman was full of confidence, believing that Kim Soo-hyuk had been persuaded by her. But to her surprise, the guy didn't believe her words, and bluntly said that Ayaka actually feared him. I, who am not bound by moonlight, could very well become the most ferocious vampire. You think letting me loose would be dangerous, but killing me would be a pity. So you keep me around on the pretext of a common enemy, ready to eliminate me at any time if something happens. You could call that having it both ways. Mirror showed a wicked, charming smile. The man's cool head surprised her. But in any case, it wasn't excessive for Mirror to stay constantly on guard against him as a vampire. The most important task now was to make Kim Soo-hyuk stronger as quickly as possible, so he had the strength to confront Anna head-on. Although Kim Soo-hyuk had already died several times, his hatred had not diminished in the least. Given the chance, he would give up everything and kill Anna at any cost. Mirror was a bit surprised by his frankness. Knowing he'd be used, he still chose to cooperate. And Kim Soo-hyuk had only one goal: revenge. How interesting. Just wait and see how I tame you. Alright, now that we've gotten to know each other, it's time to eat. Come on, bite me. Kim Soo-hyuk was puzzled. Why do you want me to do this? Ordinary vampires become sluggish once they're low on blood, but you will frantically and instinctively seek out blood. You don't want to slaughter innocents, do you? He looked at Mirror's neck and couldn't help swallowing, unable to suppress the desire within. Mirror, however, was getting a bit impatient. Hurry it up, my neck is getting sore. Kim Soo-hyuk pressed his lips together. Do I really have to set foot on this road of no return? But the next second, a primal craving made him sink his teeth into Mirror's neck. His pupils dilated sharply, turning a terrifying blood red, and his breathing grew rapid and intense. However, Kim Soo-hyuk's eyes grew increasingly feral. I'm going to drain this woman's blood dry. He seemed to hear Anna's laughter. You are indeed different. Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly snapped out of it, shoved the woman away, and accidentally pushed her onto the bed. Is this bloodlust an uncontrollable instinct of vampires? Mirror acted as if nothing had happened. She immediately sat up, grabbed the quilt, and burrowed under the covers. Go to sleep, hurry. I have to get up early to train you tomorrow. Hands to yourself. Drenched in sweat, Kim Soo-hyuk was at a loss for a moment. Do I have to repeat this blood-drinking routine every day? Even though his body had become that of a vampire, he would never give up his revenge against Anna, because his heart still belonged to a human. Rest in peace, my brothers. I am proud of you. Sooner or later I'll send that woman to hell and let you see her fate. With that thought, Kim Soo-hyuk finally set down the knot in his heart, lifted the quilt, and got into bed to rest. And so, on their first meeting, the two of them slept in the same bed. A few minutes later, the man's faint snoring sounded, but an unusual restlessness welled up in Mirror's heart. She didn't know why her heartbeat sped up, and the atmosphere around them turned ambiguous. Is that man really sharing the same blanket with me? At this moment her face was flushed red, and to calm herself, she could only silently recite scripture. Just then, Kim Soo-hyuk's hand suddenly landed on her lower abdomen, and started moving upward. The sudden move made the woman blush in an instant, and her scream followed. The scene shifts to the training room, and there are obvious palm prints on Kim Soo-hyuk's face. Today I'll teach you how to deal with vampires. As you know, ordinary weapons are useless against them. There are only two ways to kill them: sunlight and the metal element, silver. As soon as they touch silver, they'll feel a burning sensation. You can use silver weapons to behead them or pierce their hearts, even inflict fatal wounds. Otherwise you can't truly take them down. Before we start training, do you have any questions? At this, Kim Soo-hyuk brought up something that made Mira very embarrassed. About last night, I'm sorry. He was just about to continue, when the woman's fist slammed into him. I just wanted to apologize. Why did you suddenly take a swing at me? Mira gritted her teeth and said, stop saying useless things. You've mastered the basic knowledge. What you need now is experience fighting vampires. From now on, I'll make you stronger through combat. At the same time, vampires also grow stronger by consuming blood. So, let's begin training. The next second, the two were grappling. During the fight, Kim Soo-hyuk was also thinking, I always thought there was no one in the world stronger than me, and that belief stayed with me for a long time. But now I see my vision was too narrow. No matter how painful the road ahead, I have to seize the chance. Before becoming an agent, I went through hellish trials. I got through them then. These hardships now are nothing at all, because I will become the strongest. After some time, the training ended. After a few months, you finally look like yourself. But you still have a long way to go. Just then, a man suddenly burst in. Sorry, Mirror, to interrupt. So sudden, what happened? You must go to the sanctuary immediately. Hearing this, Mirror was a bit puzzled, but agreed. I'll be right back. Keep practicing here on your own. A moment later, after changing, Mirror asked him, why are they looking for me at the sanctuary? Sorry, they didn't tell me, so I don't know the details either. Hearing this, Mirror seemed to guess. Those who would address me like that, it's probably only them. The two then drove to the sanctuary. As she headed to the sanctuary, someone in a distant corner was observing everything. This person was the one who had been tailing Ayaka earlier. Then she muttered to herself and stops and starts. Meet up, Kim Soo-hyuk. Meanwhile, Mirror was summoned to the sanctuary. Hello, may I ask what matter required me to come here? A middle-aged man sat in the church. He was a confidant of the Pope. An honor to see you again, Bishop Mirror. Thank you for your hard work lately. Let's get straight to the point. I hear you have a vampire in your hands. That is your choice and your assessment. I choose to trust you, and hope to hear more detailed information about him at the next bishop's meeting. In fact, a few days ago, Mirror had already submitted an identity assessment of Kim Soo-hyuk to the sanctuary. Based on 3 months of close supervision, Mirror judged that he posed no threat and had been diligently training. Mirror also spoke her mind. As he is now, for us it's either we fall into the abyss together, or we save the world together. Because I saw Hope, a red-eyed vampire standing under resplendent light. The scene shifts to inside a building, where everyone was busily working in an orderly fashion. At that moment, a man walked out. Hello sir, is there anything I can help you with? The man was feeling around inside his jacket. Suddenly, he pulled out a dagger, looking at the other with a playful expression. Before the other side could get a word out, the dagger was driven into his head. The sudden scene stunned the passers-by. Security staff saw it too and immediately directed those around to evacuate the crowd. Just as a guard was about to speak, he felt a strong light shining from behind him. He turned to look back, but the dazzling light made it impossible to see what was happening outside the door. In an instant, the vehicles outside crashed through the glass. Then a group of burly men got out. Next, a group of gang enforcers charged at the security. These bastards actually dared to stir up trouble here. As soon as he finished speaking, his weapon hacked into a gang member. But he didn't expect the wound to be gradually healing. The person he had cut had lost all reason, and a pair of blood-red eyes fixed on him. I didn't expect that guy to be working with them. Kim Soo-hyuk should be somewhere in a corner here. This is where you can feast to your heart's content, provided you bring him to me. Before she finished speaking, the members beside her had all rushed out. Ayaka then looked at the person beside her. Thanks for tracking them down. Destroy the control room first, then catch up with us. After it's done, I imagine we'll all get our fill, right? This person was Koko, leader of Yamaguchi Gumi Group 6. Receiving a firm answer, Koko immediately rushed out. Ayaka sighed, walked to the elevator, and prepared to take it. That woman has already left, only that guy is left here now. To be safe, I've had my men all inject that stuff. We can't possibly fail this time. However, when the elevator doors opened, Ayaka's eyes were full of shock. Countless corpses were sprawled all over the elevator. They lost just like this? Could there be a bishop present here? At that moment, a voice caught her attention. Long time no see. Are you here for me? Actually, I've been looking for you too. Today, let's settle this in a fight to the death right here. The two started fighting without much talk. But the situation quickly slipped beyond Ayaka's control. During the fight, she was constantly on the defensive, which surprised her. I didn't expect this guy to improve so quickly in such a short time. By contrast, Kim Soo-hyuk kept taunting during the fight. I didn't expect you to become this pathetic in such a short time. As soon as he finished speaking, Kim Soo-hyuk grabbed Ayaka by the collar, then swept her legs and knocked her to the ground. At this moment, Ayaka seemed not yet adapted to Kim Soo-hyuk's changes. Let's settle our score today. Just as Kim Soo-hyuk's dagger was about to stab down, it suddenly stopped. He was trembling all over. No matter how hard he tried, the dagger couldn't advance an inch. Damn it, what's happening? Why is my body out of control? Just then, a sultry voice rang out. I didn't expect everyone to gather together. A voluptuous woman appeared, with several giant pythons following behind her. She was Katarina, leader of Yamaguchi Gumi Group 5. After seeing the newcomer, Kim Soo-hyuk realized his abnormal state was caused by her. Seeing the newcomer was an ally, Ayaka immediately told her to paralyze Kim Soo-hyuk. Calm down, Ayaka. I was going to do that anyway. The next moment, the giant pythons behind Katarina lunged swiftly. However, Ayaka hadn't expected that Katarina's target would actually be her. Before she could react, a python bit her neck and then coiled tightly around her. This sudden turn shocked Kim Soo-hyuk. Weren't you here to help her? Yes, that's right, but so what? She gets in my way. A fine work of art cannot be damaged. No matter how good-looking humans are, in the end they cannot escape death, or rather, decay. So I've always wanted to find a male vampire. I didn't expect to find one so quickly. Come here, Kim Soo-hyuk, you are a fine work of art. As Katarina finished speaking, Kim Soo-hyuk's body moved toward her against his will. Now you'll become a slave I can manipulate at will, and I'll thoroughly enjoy everything about you. Seeing this, Ayaka cursed Katarina. You freak. Does Lady Anna allow you to do this? Katarina gave a disdainful smile. Lady Anna only told me to ensure his safety. He's very safe now, isn't he? As for you, a useless piece of trash, I'll take care of you and your friends. As soon as she finished, a large amount of toxin welled from Ayaka's neck and began to spread outward. As death drew near, everything she'd experienced looped through her mind like a film. At this moment, her mind was filled with scenes of Anna. As the toxin spread, she gradually lost consciousness. Something this simple, and you actually needed months? And he's not even particularly gifted. So, useless as you are, it's time for you to die. Just then, Koko suddenly appeared and shouted Ayaka's name. The familiar voice put Katarina instantly on alert. I finished the task you gave me. Seeing Ayaka's condition, Koko was somewhat shocked and hurried forward to check on her. At this moment Katarina feigned innocence, claiming it had all been done by Kim Soo-hyuk. Hearing this, Koko turned her head and burst into tears. Kim Soo-hyuk wore a deeply troubled expression. Don't worry, Koko. We've already secured Kim Soo-hyuk. Let's return to Lady Anna. However, Koko didn't respond to her, and kept pressing about who had injured Ayaka. Was it that guy who did this to Ayaka? After Katarina gave an affirmative answer, Koko put away her seemingly harmless look and replaced it with a murderous air. Suddenly, Ayaka snapped awake from her coma. She looked at Kim Soo-hyuk with some fear. Did this guy dispel Katarina's poison so quickly? Is there really that big a difference in our regenerative abilities? Since you're awake, recover quickly and shake off that damned condition. Our situation isn't good. Hearing this, Ayaka trembled as she looked in Koko's direction. At this moment, Koko was fighting a giant python alone. She had just taken down the first one, when the other one's attack followed immediately. Then, with a loud bang, the python seemed to swallow Koko. But the next second, the python's eyes bulged wide, as if in disbelief. They saw Koko bracing the python's jaws open with both hands, then letting out a furious roar, followed by a wet tearing sound. The python's blood splattered across Koko's face, and she tore the python apart with sheer physical strength. Watching, Kim Soo-hyuk noticed Koko's problem. She's performing well, but her stamina is lacking. Because of the pythons and the poison, she can't get close to that woman at all. She's already burned a lot of stamina just trying to approach her. At this moment, Ayaka was very worried about Coco. If this continues, she'll die. We have to save her. Hearing this, Kim Soo-hyuk let out a contemptuous laugh. With the state your bodies then? You'd better just tell me about that woman. If I know her information, the three of us can take her down. You want to team up with me? Don't joke, you were trying to kill me just now. You think I'd trust you? After saying this, Ayaka showed a look of fear. Kim Soo-hyuk was staring at her, his face full of killing intent. In that case, this is the only way. The scene shifts. Katarina and Coco were locked in fierce combat. At this moment, Katarina was a bit puzzled. I've already used more power than expected against her, especially on this unexpected fool. Why? Shouldn't this one already be poisoned? Someone like her couldn't possibly dispel my poison. While Katarina was distracted, Coco suddenly appeared and punched her in the abdomen. The terrifying force made Katarina black out instantly. Then she crashed through the glass and was sent flying straight out. At this time, Coco's face was flushed from holding her breath. In fighting Katarina, she had no choice but to hold her breath to avoid inhaling the poison gas. Coco then hurriedly looked for Ayaka. But when she saw where Ayaka was, she suddenly felt her head go heavy and her vision blur, and then she crashed to the ground. A small snake had bitten her ankle. Did I underestimate that one too much? Just then, the once vanished Katarina appeared again. Looks like you're very close with Ayaka, how amusing. The game should end now. I'll make sure you and the friend you've been desperately searching for are together forever, and inside the belly of my favorite monster. Just then, a sudden change occurred. The giant python before Coco was cut in half, and then Ayaka's figure appeared. Ayaka's appearance shocked Katarina. She actually broke my poison? Isn't this the kind of poison only Anna and I can neutralize? In fact, Ayaka was only able to dispel the toxin thanks entirely to Kim Soo-hyuk. Just now, Ayaka had thought Kim Soo-hyuk was about to kill her. Unexpectedly, he drove the dagger into his own palm. What are you doing? Kim Soo-hyuk said something she would never forget. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. You must be furious right now. You gave everything, only to be betrayed, and nearly lost your closest friend. I've been through it too. Now drink my blood. Have you heard the saying? The most terrifying person in this world is the one who has nothing. When you face such a person, your death is not far off. Meanwhile, Mirror, at the church, also receives an urgent piece of intel. A large number of vampires are invading a hotel. Bishop Mirror must rush there to provide support at once. The scene shifts, and Kim Soo-hyuk and the others are already locked in fierce combat. He learns intel about the opponent from Ayaka. The enemy can transform their body into a giant python and command other venomous snakes. Once you're bitten, or inhale the toxic gas, your body will be briefly paralyzed. In that state you can be manipulated at will. However, one crucial point, the poison mist won't last long. They must close the distance when the poison mist dissipates. But there's something even trickier. Once a giant python is slain, they keep splitting and regenerating. At that moment, a giant python suddenly bites down on Kim Soo-hyuk's dagger. This strange move leaves him a bit puzzled. Does it want to snatch his dagger? Before he can figure it out, a group of giant pythons has already surrounded him. This sudden turn leaves Kim Soo-hyuk momentarily stunned. The next second, Ayaka suddenly appears and cuts down all the giant pythons around them. Then she tosses the weapon in her hand to him. She tells him to pull himself together. Was he really going to die over a weapon? She then adds that the enemy burns their own blood to activate their ability, so the giant pythons won't proliferate infinitely. Their goal right now is to wear down their stamina. She'll find a way to tie up these giant pythons, and Kim Soo-hyuk must go help Coco immediately. Hearing this, Kim Soo-hyuk comes to Coco's side. He says he understands, their alliance is only temporary. He will use his own blood to purge her toxins, hoping she can help him and her friend. This is the only way to get out of here. As Kim Soo-hyuk's blood flows in, Coco immediately shakes off the paralysis. Next, she drives a fist into Kim Soo-hyuk's jaw, then presses him down beneath her. He is confused. Is this girl being controlled? He's clearly detoxed her already. However, Coco's next words leave Kim Soo-hyuk at a loss for words. He shouts that she has caught Kim Soo-hyuk. Ayaka hurriedly stops her, telling her to let him go. They need to take down Katarina together. Hearing this, Coco casts an innocent glance at Kim Soo-hyuk, then gets ready to go support Ayaka. By contrast, Katarina, off to the side, also finds it tricky now. Her plan had originally been to use the two of them to find Kim Soo-hyuk, and then control them with toxins. The plan had been flawless, but was broken by a variable. That variable being Kim Soo-hyuk. She has to admit this guy can actually break her poison. He does have some skill. Meanwhile, Katarina directs the giant pythons to release a large amount of poison mist. The poison mist quickly surges toward them. Seeing this, Kim Soo-hyuk immediately tells the group to fall back. He reminds them to hold their breath and stick close to him. The poison mist will soon dissipate. The opponent wants to use the poison mist to obscure their vision and take one of them out during this window. Kim Soo-hyuk keeps running scenarios in his head. Who will she deal with first? He first rules himself out, because he is the target. Ayaka is very fast, and Coco is powerful, but relies heavily on Ayaka. Just then, Katarina suddenly lunges at Coco. And at that moment, Coco is also at her limit for holding her breath. Katarina demands how she dares touch her, vowing to kill that little brat first. Right then, Ayaka suddenly appears, blocking the attack for Coco. And at that moment, Kim Soo-hyuk also realizes, the target can only be Coco. He shouts for Coco to hurry over and drink his blood, before that woman arrives. But the instant Kim Soo-hyuk turns his head, he freezes in place. He sees a short snake biting into Ayaka. Then a dagger appears at her chest. It is none other than Kim Soo-hyuk's pure silver dagger. At just 7 years old, Ayaka saw with her own eyes her mother sell her for money. At that moment, immense shock and endless fear swept through her mind. Her eyes were full of terror, as if she had fallen into a black hole, with only darkness and cold around her. When she was about to turn and leave, she found her mother greedily clutching the drugs in her hands. She didn't know how long had passed before a group of children her age were gathered together. A doctor came out holding a vial of red serum. And so, over and over, they were taken to test drugs. During this period, most of the children became abnormal, and then died one after another. To her, this was like a long nightmare. Just as she was on the brink of collapse, a light belonging to her heart slowly entered her world. From then on, she received salvation for her soul. Tormented in hell, she felt something different because of a smile. But the nightmare did not end, and those beasts in human form continued to torment them. Fortunately, they became the light in each other's hearts, relying on one another. But good times are always short-lived. The doctor divided everyone into 2 teams by different dosages, and they were separated. Just as the 2 of them were about to be separated, Ayaka suddenly called out to Coco, and threw her own clothes to her. Ignoring the bodyguard's attempts to stop her, she shouted for Coco to put them on, and swore she would definitely come back for her. Many years later, Ayaka was locked in a small room. By then, she had already grown up. Just then, she suddenly saw a familiar figure. Following her gaze, she saw Coco kneeling in the corner. Overjoyed, Ayaka grabbed Coco, calling her name over and over. However, Coco had no reaction at all. The next second, Coco suddenly turned her head. By then, she no longer had the look of childhood, and had even lost her childhood memories. She didn't recognize the person in front of her at all, and asked in confusion who she was, saying she didn't seem to know her. Ayaka said her name was Ayaka, someone who wanted to be her friend. When they were little, she protected her. Now it was her turn to protect her. Ayaka thought she had already walked out of hell, only to find it was just beginning. Ayaka was mentally stable but physically unstable. Coco was mentally unstable but physically stable. From then on, they stepped into another hell. In the days that followed, they began training non-stop. If they failed to meet the targets, they would be discarded at any time. But as long as they thought of each other, they could keep going. At this moment, Ayaka is at death's door, and everything that had happened feels like her life flashing before her eyes. And now she thinks of Kim Soo-hyuk. Kim Soo-hyuk's voice echoes in her mind again and again. After giving everything, what did you end up with? Drink my blood, and then let's leave here alive together. As Ayaka slowly opens her heavy eyes, she sees the 2 of them, anxious. But she is still thinking back on Kim Soo-hyuk's words, because this is the first time someone has understood her, and that person is even her enemy. To stay alive, she has dirtied her hands countless times. Even knowing right from wrong, she has been powerless. But if she were him, perhaps everything would be different. She tells Kim Soo-hyuk to listen carefully to what she is about to say. After a brief coded exchange, Kim Soo-hyuk's eyes widen. Next, the dying Ayaka kisses him. She thanks Kim Soo-hyuk for letting her feel understood for the first time. And Coco, stop crying. They will always be together. As Ayaka's body gradually dissipates, in the end only a pile of clothes remains, lying forlornly where she was. At this moment, Coco can no longer suppress her grief. Staring at the clothes, she bursts into loud sobs. Katarina sighs that Ayaka is truly pitiful, spending her whole life supporting her friend, even sacrificing her life. She tells Kim Soo-hyuk that he should now understand it's all a meaningless resistance. Now come back with me to Lady Anna. Kim Soo-hyuk says he understands. Ayaka, he finally knows what he has to do. At this moment, Coco suddenly screams like a madwoman for Katarina to give Ayaka back to her. Then her figure blurs, and she lunges straight at Katarina. Seeing this, Katarina shows a mocking smile. At that moment, something unexpected happens. A dazzling light suddenly flares somewhere, and then an explosion erupts with a roar right in front of Coco. Kim Soo-hyuk is confused. What just happened? Where did these people come from? Are they from the temple? As Kim Soo-hyuk is pondering, he sees a woman radiating light all over slowly walk in. The dazzling light keeps him from seeing who it is, and he instinctively takes her to be Mirror. He shouts, "Don't hurt her. Mirror, this girl isn't an enemy." Before he can finish, a specially made silver bullet flies toward his face. Fortunately, Kim Soo-hyuk is focused and dodges it with a slight tilt of his head. The newcomer says she didn't expect there really to be so many vampires here. But they don't need to worry, she will purify everyone. At this, Katarina puts away her casual air and fixes her gaze on the newcomer. Her attacks carry holy power, and those eyes embedded with crosses. The newcomer sneers that the other side is bold, daring to openly attack the temple's hotel. Katarina retorts that it looks like the bold one is her, bringing so many puppets for her. As soon as she finishes, Katarina releases a large amount of poison mist from her whole body. Seeing this, Kim Soo-hyuk immediately warns everyone to hold their breath. Once the poison mist enters the body, you'll become a puppet under her control. Meanwhile, a gigantic python lunges at the woman from before. However, before it can touch her, it is blocked by a yellow beam of light. She asks if that's all the tricks the other side has. The giant python's tongue from earlier was cut off. This scene leaves the two of them, Kim Soo-hyuk and Coco, shocked. They didn't expect this woman to deal with the giant python so easily. Just then, Katarina's figure suddenly vanishes. The woman who had been so decisive in killing suddenly changes her expression and asks where she went. Did anyone see? Her subordinates urge the high priestess to remain calm. It's as if something occurs to Kim Soo-hyuk, and he immediately warns that she must have hidden in the snake's head to escape. She suddenly understands and says, "I see. Thanks for the tip." They need to chase her at once. But before that, at that moment, Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly senses danger and immediately grabs Coco and retreats backward. The next instant, a barrage of bullets rains down at the two of them. She says that since he is a kind-hearted vampire, she will let him die painlessly. Kim Soo-hyuk counters that he's not their enemy. He has already formed an alliance with Mirror. She argues the temple would never ally with vampires. Besides, she says claiming to have allied with Sister Mirror is even more absurd. Kim Soo-hyuk is puzzled. Does the temple really not know about him and Mirror? What should he do to make her believe him? At this moment, Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly thinks of room 1701. Hearing this, the woman is a bit stunned and asks what incoherent nonsense he's talking about. He explains that that room is where he and Mirror live together. Right after, she seems to connect it to something impossible. Could Mirror and he be in that kind of relationship? Since when? Why was she completely unaware? He adds, and today Mirror was wearing black lingerie. Meanwhile, having received the news, Mirror also arrives at the hotel entrance. After seeing the situation on site, Mirror immediately senses something is wrong and rushes into the hotel. She curses these damn vampires for forcing their way into the hotel while she was gone. If they take Kim Soo-hyuk away, her plan is ruined. After the elevator reaches the 17th floor, Mirror is just about to draw her sword. She sees Kim Soo-hyuk standing at the door, holding Coco up. A moment later, Kim Soo-hyuk tells Mirror what happened. Mirror analyzes that they've scraped by with their lives this time. If he had fallen into Anna's hands, they would have faced a disaster. They seem to have tracked his movements, which shows their intel capabilities are strong. This hotel is no longer safe. They must change locations and not be apart for even a moment. At this, Mirror glances at him and shows a meaningful smile. She muses that Kim Soo-hyuk had originally been someone who almost died, and now can actually survive in front of 3 vampires. By continuously drinking blood, he has already grown stronger. Although the pace is still a bit slow, as long as he keeps it up, one day he'll personally take care of Anna. Hearing this, Kim Soo-hyuk is a bit taken aback, then gets ready to tell Mirror a secret. He says he already knows how to become as powerful as Anna. At these words, Mirror's heart trembles. He explains that Ayaka, one of Anna's subordinates, told him the secret before she died. For vampires, the more blood they drink, the stronger they become. So even if he improves by his current method, he still won't be able to oppose Anna. But if he drinks the blood of vampires, it's different. If he drinks their blood, he can seize the power they've accumulated. If certain conditions are met, he can even gain corresponding abilities. Mirror cautions that they can't blindly trust this information. As for acquiring abilities, they don't know the details either. Is it worth the risk now? He replies that after drinking Ayaka's blood, he could clearly feel that bullet speed was slower in his eyes. It said Anna has 7 vampires under her. Now he knows what to do next. He must drain the blood of all the vampires under Anna. Hearing this, Mirror can only agree helplessly. She asks if he brought Coco along in order to drink her blood. He explains that she is also one of Anna's vampires and now harbors intense hostility toward Anna, so she is very useful to them. Mira sighs that he is as troublesome as ever. The Bishop's Council is about to begin, and although most of the agenda revolves around Anna, the theme this time is different. It's him. Ever since he joined them, some people have been displeased. But don't worry, my situation isn't that bad yet. Just as you said, bringing you here was to keep an eye on you. But now I think I can give you some trust. Anyway, you're working to become stronger, so I'm going to give you a reward. Just then, the woman outside the door also hears the words reward and seems to associate it with certain scenes. Does Sister Mira reward him once every day? Meanwhile, Kim Soo-hyuk has already sunk his teeth into Mira's shoulder. Mira sighs that Kim Soo-hyuk has truly changed. At first, when he drank blood, he would desperately suppress that urge. Now he seems more composed. However, these words seem to take on a different meaning when they reach the woman's ears, because in her mind she has already filled in a scene of the two of them entwined on a bed. After a long time apart, Lucia warmly bids farewell to Mira. But the look she shoots at Kim Soo-hyuk is full of jealousy and hostility. The next second, she hops into a sedan and speeds away. Mira thinks to herself that now this hothead is gone. Only the most headache-inducing problem remains, the mentally unstable Coco. She's still yelling to hurry up and give her a cup of fresh blood, and find her a place to rest. Then she'll let them be her underlings. Mira gives her a sharp flick to the forehead, making her shut up. Mira can't figure it out. Can this one really be of any help? Kim Soo-hyuk says bluntly that he happens to need vampire blood, so they can treat her as a mobile blood bank. Mira counters that bringing her along means supplying her with more blood, and she has no desire to let this one bite her. Considering she has top-tier reconnaissance and tracking abilities, and strong combat power as well, she does count as a capable helper. Mira questions that even so, can someone this unstable really be controlled? They see Coco clinging tightly to Kim Soo-hyuk, hiding beside him and squawking. Mira notices she's especially clingy with Kim Soo-hyuk and wonders why. Kim Soo-hyuk looks at her quietly, saying nothing. Her deranged state reminds him of himself after his teammate was killed. A berserk rage drove him to kill everyone at the police station, including the chief who had framed him. If it happened again, he would still kill them all without hesitation. The girl before him has also just lost the person closest to her. So Kim Soo-hyuk decides to have a serious talk with her. He says their goal is to kill her master, Anna. If she's willing to join, great, but if not, they won't force her. As he speaks, Kim Soo-hyuk slowly draws a silver sword. He says she can die by his hand as a vampire, or she can fight alongside them for her friend's revenge. Make your choice now. Coco lowers her head in silence. After a moment, she slowly says she hates Anna. She always made things hard for Ayaka. She also hates the Vatican. They have hunted Ayaka nonstop, leaving her covered in wounds. Coco suddenly roars that as long as they can kill the woman who killed Ayaka, she'll do anything. Kim Soo-hyuk says, good. The three quickly reach an agreement. Since they've taken in 2 vampires as companions, at the bishop's regular meeting, Mirror will bring them to attend. Mirror states sternly that if either of them loses control or harms a comrade, they will be executed on the spot. No sooner are the words out than she regrets it, feeling her tone was a bit too harsh. Soon the three return to the hotel room. Water in the bathroom gushes noisily, accompanied by Coco's curses. How dare the damned Vatican torture her like this? It turns out Mira is giving the reeking, sour-smelling Coco a bath. Someone who hunts vampires every day now has to bathe this one. Just thinking about it makes her angry. Mira reassures herself that Kim Soo-hyuk's words aren't without reason. From another angle, more helpers are always good. Besides, this one's combat ability is indeed not bad. As a result of being distracted, Mira used too much shampoo and accidentally got it in Coco's eyes. Kim Soo-hyuk is wiping his dagger, when he suddenly hears a commotion from the bathroom. With a bang, the bathroom door is suddenly kicked open. A sturdy, naked woman rushes out, stark naked, accusing that woman of trying to poison her. She deliberately dripped medicine into her eyes. Before she can finish, she is dragged back in. At this moment, Kim Soo-hyuk's thoughts have drifted back to when he was a cop. That year he was 18, just promoted to captain of the special unit, and was very close with his 2 brothers in arms. Even the commander regarded him as the ace. He recalls how wonderful it was then, doing the work he loved without a care. 10 years have passed since then, yet it feels like yesterday. He seems deaf to the women's scuffle, quietly polishing his dagger. After a whole night of busyness, Mira can finally lie down to rest. Most infuriatingly, this unclothed vampire won't listen to her, but obeys Kim Soo-hyuk to the letter. She obediently gets dressed, and even when told to blow-dry her hair, she stays perfectly still. Maybe it's because Mira once beat her friend to a pulp, so she holds a grudge. This crazy, scatterbrained woman was the most precious treasure in Ayaka's life, like the cross on Mira's chest. Having lost what's most precious and trapped in enemy territory, it's hard not to be on edge. As Mira gradually lets it go, she lies down and falls asleep. Who would have thought she'd be woken by a rustling sound? She opens her eyes to see Coco actually biting her hand. Mira thinks to herself that it looks like she's hungry and wants to eat. She shows a motherly, indulgent smile, and quietly picks up her longsword with her right hand. After dealing with the two women's trivialities, Kim Soo-hyuk also goes to rest, only to be woken again. He merely perks up his ears and listens, then goes back to sleep. He thinks, "Miss Mirror, I'll trouble you to take care of Coco tonight." But suddenly a drop of drool falls onto his face. It turns out Coco has quietly climbed onto his bed, gazing at his fair face. "Now you're mine." Sunlight streams into the room through the gaps in the curtains, and Kim Soo-hyuk feels a warm sensation on his face and slowly opens his eyes. He's puzzled. Why is the blanket so heavy today? He lifts the blanket, and his eyes widen. There's a woman lying under it. Looking closely, it's actually Coco. He wonders what she's doing here. Is she hiding from the sunlight? Feeling very awkward, he tries to wake her. Suddenly a force flips the blanket up and pushes both it and him to the floor. Kim Soo-hyuk mutters under his breath, always making a fuss, "What are you doing?" But unexpectedly, Coco is still fast asleep, unaware. Suddenly, sobbing comes from under the covers. This outwardly tough woman actually has a fragile side, murmuring Ayaka's name. Kim Soo-hyuk thinks for a moment and suddenly realizes. Could she be mistaking him for Ayaka? Ever since he drank Ayaka's blood, he's had her scent. No wonder she's been obeying his orders. And Kim Soo-hyuk has also felt the pain of losing his most precious comrade. That's also why they share a common enemy. Watching her lie on him and sob in sorrow, he softly comforts her. "It's okay, everything will pass." Those were the very words his captain said to him back then. At the time, Kim Soo-hyuk had an emotional breakdown over his teammate's death in battle. Worst of all, he became a vampire because of it. With Kim Soo-hyuk's comfort, Coco finally slowly stops crying. By late morning, the hotel is anything but quiet. Hellish, superhuman combat training is underway. Kim Soo-hyuk swiftly dodges Mira's combination punches, yet she still finds an opening to throw a full power strike. Seeing he can't avoid it, Kim Soo-hyuk has a quick wit and uses his ability to slow time. He easily ducks to avoid the blow, then follows through with a left hook. Just as the counter is about to land on her, Kim Soo-hyuk's body stiffens and his movement stops. Mira catches his fist firmly with one hand and remarks, "Not bad, you're much stronger than yesterday." With the boost from Ayaka's blood, Kim Soo-hyuk has greatly improved in strength, speed, and destructive power. And since today is the bishop's regular meeting, this will score big points for Mira. Meanwhile, Kim Soo-hyuk's current status still hasn't received official approval. This is a good chance to apply for approval. Kim Soo-hyuk anxiously asks what will happen if he's rejected. Mira responds with a wicked grin, "Executed on the spot, of course." Haha, but Mira tells him not to worry. With his potential, getting the church's approval shouldn't be a problem. During this period, Kim Soo-hyuk has proven himself twice. First, he forced a large number of hidden vampires to show themselves. Second, he evolved in a short time to a level that can compete with captain-class vampires. Considering his contributions, he is likely the key to ending Anna's eastward campaign into Korea. But he still lacks confidence in his own abilities. Although he was already strong as a human and has found a way to power up quickly, the biggest problem is time. As long as there's enough time to train and drink blood, the day he kills Anna won't be far off. The top priority now is to hurry up and get that damned meeting over with, then dive into training. Mirror is very satisfied with his remarks and sighs that he truly is the man she had her eye on. Everyone immediately assembles and heads to the conference room. Despite the fine words, Kim Soo-hyuk still has concerns in his heart. Whether Anna, the captains, or himself, they are all monsters from hell in the eyes of the church. He doesn't care whether he's used by the Vatican or uses the Vatican. All he cares about are his brothers who died innocently. The flames of vengeance burn ever hotter. And of the 7 captains under Anna, 2 have already been eliminated. At this moment, he's getting closer and closer to her. He doesn't know that Katerina has safely returned to the temporary headquarters, reporting to her superior Anna that Ayaka's death has been confirmed, and that Coco has defected and joined the Vatican. And at this moment, Anna cares only about Kim Soo-hyuk's situation. Just as anticipated by Anna's long-laid plans, Kim Soo-hyuk's combat power is rising rapidly. He can even neutralize the deadly venom of the mutant viper. Anna analyzes that it won't be long before this promising kid comes knocking on his own. Anna has long since prepared countermeasures, saying that when the time comes, everyone will drink this potion to make sure they take him down. The High Bishop's Council will be held in this magnificent cathedral. This is not the one Kim Soo-hyuk saw last time, but an ordinary church, not a holy site. Given that he cannot enter a holy site, the church is specially holding the meeting here. To prevent him from losing control, Mirror still put a precious silver bracelet on him. The matter is grave, caution comes first. Many bishops still harbor hostility toward him and will certainly make trouble at the assembly. Suddenly a weathered voice calls out to the two of them, asking Mirror whether the one beside her is that vampire. The newcomers are Bishop Dominic and Bishop Hilda. Mirror steps forward politely to greet them, but Dominic's attention is entirely on Kim Soo-hyuk. He asks if this is the vampire with a special agent background. I hear you want to join the Suicide Squad? That's really great. Well done, Mirror. You found a good talent. I hear you fought a captain-class vampire to a standstill, though it was the weakest one. You know, I really wish I could burn all vampires in one big blaze. A real pity I wasn't there then. Anyway, pleased to meet you. See you at the meeting in a bit. Let's go, Hilda. Then Hilda politely bids farewell to Mirror and to Kim Soo-hyuk, then follows Dominic away. Kim Soo-hyuk hadn't expected that such a small child would actually be a bishop. Mirror explains that since it's a special department, ability is the main criterion for rank. She reminds him that he must have sensed that most of the Dare to Die squad members see him as a thorn in their side. If people like Dominic just now show up, they might even take a shot at him. Just then, Lucia suddenly appears and throws her arms around Mirror, then glares at Kim Soo-hyuk with open hostility. She then asks Mirror whether she has seen Cecilia. After getting a negative answer, she warns Mirror to be careful of Cecilia, because she hates vampires more than anyone. No matter how helpful Kim Soo-hyuk might be to the Dare to Die squad, she will definitely oppose him with all her might. Mirror tells Lucia not to worry, because she believes Cecilia is a competent bishop who will make the right call. Just then, a sudden disturbance erupts. A flaming arrow shoots in from who knows where, flying toward Kim Soo-hyuk. Mirror quickly steps in front of him, and bats the arrow away with a single sword stroke. Mirror demands to know what the other party is doing. The assailant is none other than Cecilia, who says she's merely carrying out a bishop's duty. She counters by asking what on earth Mirror thinks she's doing. A bishop who should protect bishops and hunt vampires is actually protecting a vampire? He is absolutely unfit to attend the meeting. So step aside, Mirror. I'm going to keep him here. Mirror retorts, and what if I don't step aside? What will you do? Cecilia replies that then she shouldn't blame her, she has already warned her. The fight is about to erupt. Yet just as the two are about to cross blades, suddenly a red force separates them. When the smoke clears, a woman in red stands between them. With her left hand holding a sword, she blocks Mirror. With her right, barehanded, she stops Cecilia. Kim Soo-hyuk is astonished that someone can so easily block the attacks of two bishops. The woman then speaks, asking what they think they're doing. The few rough types who had been strutting moments ago immediately tremble and kneel. In unison, they pay respects to the cardinal. Cardinal Helena is the highest leader of the Vatican Church. Seeing this, Cecilia has no choice but to bow her head and apologize for her earlier rudeness. The wise Helena more or less guesses the cause of the conflict. Without the outlier Kim Soo-hyuk, Mirror wouldn't be at odds with her colleagues. The one to decide the life and death of these two is the Bishop's Council presided over by Helena. Given the current situation, it's less a meeting than a trial. Without a justifiable reason, the angry Cecilia will personally execute these two vampires. Even the bold Kim Soo-hyuk is afraid at this moment, keeping silent all morning. Apart from Mirror, the only one likely to support them is Lucia. Though tough-talking, Mirror is just as worried inside. If something goes wrong at today's meeting, the church will become the burial place of Kim Soo-hyuk and Coco. Helena has a powerful presence. As a figure comparable to the Pope, she's more than suited to preside over such an important meeting. The next second, Kim Soo-hyuk is brought onto the stage. The bishops murmur about him, while Helena continues with some small talk. The hot-tempered Cecilia immediately interrupts and raises a sharp question. Why would two disgusting vampires appear in a place this sacred? Kim Soo-hyuk simply stands there silently, motionless, with no reaction. This blunt opening also surprises Mirror. After hearing all sides and weighing pros and cons, Helena decides to call a vote on the issue. She leaves the life and death of these two vampires to the bishops present to decide. Each person casts one vote, with the majority prevailing. Then it's the archbishop's turn to state their opinions. Cecilia, of course, is vehemently opposed and wants to execute Kim Soo-hyuk herself. Bishop Dominic also argues that he's hard to control and says he should be eliminated. Some have no opinions of their own and just go with the flow, like Hilda. At this point, Helena casually mentions that Lucia has also met Kim Soo-hyuk. Lucia recalls that the first time she saw Kim Soo-hyuk, it was when Katerina single-handedly slaughtered the worshippers. To protect his companions, he even took the initiative to sacrifice himself to ensure everyone's safety. If he hadn't promptly warned everyone to cover their mouths and noses, they might have been wiped out. But since the Vatican warriors didn't know his identity, they attacked him as an enemy. Even though he was fully capable of standing off against the task force, he didn't strike back at all, relying only on speed to dodge bullets. These actions are enough to show that he is very rational and won't hurt people indiscriminately. Lucia concludes that Kim Soo-hyuk is completely under Miss Mirror's control, like one of her subordinates. What's more, she has personally stumbled upon ambiguous vibes between the two, though it's mostly in her imagination. Thinking they might be doing interesting things right next to her, Lucia nearly gets a nosebleed again. As one of the bishops, Mirror naturally recognizes Kim Soo-hyuk without reservation. Most importantly, she has seen his revelation. Cecilia sneers and lets out a snort of laughter. She mocks that she thought Mirror had some extraordinary reason for always defending this vampire. So it's just this. I've seen two kinds of revelations in him, either the advent of a chosen one, or the approach of extreme danger. Obviously, the revelation is that we should kill him. This guy even killed his own police colleagues. Cecilia screams hysterically. No matter how Kim Soo-hyuk might argue, it would be to no avail. She doesn't give him any chance to speak at all. Kim Soo-hyuk remains silent, but the murderous intent in his blood-red pupils grows stronger. In a dim room somewhere, Coco slowly opens her eyes. Before her is a cage. The light seeping through the door crack wakes her up. How long has it been since she last ate? A day? A week? Her stomach growls of its own accord. At this moment there is only one thought in her mind. She wants blood. Meanwhile, at the meeting, Mirror vigorously defended Kim Soo-hyuk. She tried to explain the matter of his slaughtering his colleagues. But Cecilia, on the grounds that it violates the will of their forebears, firmly refused to yield. This time, however, Mirror changed her tack. She stated that to eradicate vampires once and for all, Anna and her henchmen must be eliminated. Apart from Kim Soo-hyuk, who else can draw those vampires out? The ancient Vatican was founded by St. Peter 2,000 years ago. Thanks to countless warriors who went forth one after another, now only one primeval progenitor vampire remains. Anna. She is extremely cunning, hiding in the shadows most of the time. She bares her fangs only when facing the Vatican faithful. Yet overnight, those hidden vampires began to show themselves frequently. This is all thanks to the appearance of Kim Soo-hyuk. In the battles that followed, Ayaka, the leader of Team 7 of Anna's group, was killed. And Coco, the leader of Team 6, defected and joined the Vatican. The long stagnant situation has rapidly advanced because of this man. Now is the best time to resolve this battle that has dragged on for over 2,000 years. It is also a chance for everyone to go down in history. Cecilia refuses to listen and sneers at Mirror's view. All the more so since that so-called Team 6 Coco is still deranged. She demands that Helena strip Mirror of her captaincy and immediately execute the two vampires. Although Helena finds Mirror's stance extreme, she also thinks it's worth a try. Precisely because of this man's appearance, the millennia-unbeaten Anna is showing a weakness for the first time. Helena intends to shape them into an experimental unit. But to proceed legitimately, more than half of the bishops must agree. Those who support it must also take responsibility for managing the vampires. The result seems to be within Mirror's expectations. But Cecilia still finds it hard to accept. To take a step back, she could accept Kim Soo-hyuk. But she absolutely cannot accept Coco, who once served Anna. Helena has also heard that Coco isn't very bright and is hard to manage. She decides to assess her personally. But at this moment an even trickier situation arises. When they go to bring Coco over per Helena's orders, the clergymen are astonished. She has actually broken out of her cage. At some unknown time, Coco had dug a big hole in the specially made high-strength iron cage. The bishops who had been ready to accept them immediately furrow their brows. Mirror, the only one supporting Kim Soo-hyuk, is put in a very passive position. Faced with Cecilia's roaring, Mirror has no way to argue. Fortunately, it's daytime, and vampires can't bring out their full strength. The quick-witted Dominic thinks of the basement as the darkest part of the building. If Coco escapes from there, it will spell disaster. Aside from that, the place Coco is most likely to go is the orphanage dormitory. It's nap time, and the rooms with the curtains drawn are dim. A boy wakes up needing to pee. When he pushes open the door, standing before him is none other than Team SIXS Coco. At the thought that the children might be in danger, Dominic is frantic. But beside him, Hilda calmly tells him to shut up. She then seems to be triggered all over, releasing a dazzling holy light while repeatedly chanting incantations. Kim Soo-hyuk had long since seen that this woman was unusual. Even the aura around her seems to be changing. No matter how Dominic tries to dissuade her, she acts as if bewitched and won't listen. If she doesn't control her emotions, the consequences will be unimaginable. All persuasion proves futile. Her worry for the children has turned into anger. In the hall, a dazzling, massive light array suddenly forms. At Kim Soo-hyuk's loud warning, everyone quickly braces for defense. But the danger appears precisely in Mirror's direction. Suddenly, a gigantic sword shoots out from the light array. It cleaves straight toward her position. Amid the smoke and dust, Lucia anxiously calls out to her. Helena moves to save her at once. Holding her sword one-handed, she blocks the giant blade, thereby sparing Mirror behind her. A deep gash opens on Mirror's arm, and blood gushes out. Lucia anxiously calls to them. Fortunately, responses come soon after, and it seems they're out of danger. Helena then immediately organizes the operation. She assigns Lucia to go to the orphanage to check the situation. She keeps Dominic on standby at the original location, because he is known as reliable within the church. The main task is looking after Hilda, who had just gone berserk. Once the arrangements are made, everyone immediately heads for the orphanage. If Coco causes any harm at the orphanage, Helena will hold Mirror strictly accountable. Knowing full well the gravity of the responsibility, Mirror can only agree. Meanwhile, Cecilia looks on coldly from the side. In fact, all of this had signs beforehand. Cecilia and the others hurry to the orphanage. After all, Coco is a capable lieutenant of Anna's group. How could she easily turn over a new leaf? If anything happens to the children, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this moment, Cecilia sees Lucia, who arrived first, standing dazed at the doorway. Could an emergency have occurred? Horrific images of children's bodies strewn everywhere flash through Cecilia's mind. Burning with anxiety, she rushes past Lucia and shouts. But the scene before her leaves her dumbfounded. Coco is sprawled on the floor with her but stuck up, and a child is riding on her back playing. The children naively tell her that if she wants to play, she has to get in line. The sight makes Cecilia feel utterly embarrassed. She wonders whether this one is really a vampire leader. Mirror, who arrives in a hurry, loudly orders Coco to stop. But her bleeding arm suddenly draws Coco's attention. Having not eaten for a long time, Coco smells the blood and her appetite surges. In an instant she darts out from the crowd of children, begging to be allowed a lick. Mirror desperately tries to stop her, but simply can't hold her back. Cecilia snorts coldly, mocking that this sly fox has finally shown her vampire nature. She raises the exorcising flames and advances on Coco step by step, declaring she will kill her. But at this moment, Coco retorts by asking what she means. Kim Soo-hyuk won't allow her to drink anyone else's blood, only hers. Does she want her to starve to death? This time it's Cecilia's turn to be shocked. She wonders whether they really have tamed this beast. This ferocious vampire before them can suppress her urges because of a single sentence from that man. Doesn't that count as a kind of redemption? In that instant, Dominic seizes the opportunity to grab her wrist and urges her to dispel her magic. Hilda, who rampaged just now, finally returns to normal and rushes over. The children are thrilled to see her and keep greeting her. Having grown up together since childhood, Hilda cares deeply about the safety of these orphans. She has long regarded them as her own children. From the children she learns that Coco the vampire played with them for an entire afternoon without any excessive behavior. She even let the children ride on her back like a big white horse. They even played on the slide together. The reality is far from what Hilda imagined. The next second, her eyes redden. Hilda calls out Mirror's name loudly, runs over to give Mirror a big hug, and apologizes for the accidental injury earlier. For an unintended injury, Mirror naturally won't blame her much. She simply forgives her with a smile. At that moment, she happens to meet Coco's gaze beside her. She thanks her for playing with the children, and admits she wrongly blamed her. Even so, Coco, who ran off disobediently, still gets a smack from Mirror. After a false alarm, the meeting's result is quickly revealed. The two vampires, being controllable by humans, are permitted to join the Vatican. With the consent of a majority of bishops, they will be organized into a squad as a combat unit. Even Cecilia, who bears deep hostility toward Kim Soo-hyuk, expresses support. Helena is pleased with the result and immediately declares the removal of the two's shackles and restraints. Kim Soo-hyuk and Coco will form a special operations team with Mirror, setting off a wave of resistance against Anna. After this farce, the bishops' meeting concludes successfully. Everyone reaches consensus and leaves happily. Only Lucia is very worried about Mirror's injury. She was injured in the earlier clash, and her combat effectiveness has declined. And the two newly arrived vampires also seem not quite normal. The ever-hostile Cecilia wears a blank expression. She simply and coldly calls Lucille away. She states that the Crusaders' goal is to protect people from harm by vampires. If anyone breaks their oath, she will eliminate them all. It is obvious that Cecilia has always harbored hostility toward vampires. Cut to a small bar in Vladivostok, Russia. Two old acquaintances who haven't met for many years are leisurely drinking vodka. The elder named Ivan is no nobody. He is the boss of the Russian mafia. Yet the man before him is the one who gouged out one of his eyes. Even Ivan's former boss died at his hands. This man is none other than Kim Soo-yuk. At this moment, countless guns are pointed at his head. Ivan says he doesn't understand how he dares to come negotiate terms with him. What's stranger is that he actually set out from Korea and precisely located him, despite his elusive movements. This goes back to the hotel attack. Because the bodies at the scene showed traces of vampires, they performed autopsies. Unexpectedly, the autopsies showed that the deceased were indeed human. In their blood, a drug that can enhance abilities was detected. A month ago, when the Russian branch was completely overrun by vampires, the same drug was found in the bodies of gangsters. And this drug has also been repeatedly found after gang operations led by Anna. According to the clues, Kim Soo-yuk and his group first checked into a hotel in Vladivostok. Of the three, one was injured and one was not too bright. Only Kim Soo-yuk ventured into the tiger's den alone and actually returned safely. It turns out he had already scouted the Yamaguchi-gumi's hideout and made an action plan. What puzzles Mirror is why Ivan, facing the enemy who gouged out his eye, would so readily divulge information. This is easy to understand, because the mafia led by Ivan is hostile to the Yamaguchi-gumi. After a 5-minute briefing on the operation, Mirror happily said she wanted to participate. 5 minutes later, Mirror is actually dolled up as a glamorous hottie. In any case, this is better than swaggering in with a sword. After all, their target is the most famous nightclub in the area. For Mirror, wearing a wig and sequin clothes is whatever. But does she absolutely have to wear a low-cut top? And this kind of ultra-short skirt too? Who would have thought that even dressed like this, she would still be stopped by security? In fact, the problem wasn't Mirror herself. It was the Coco who was following her. In both outfit and demeanor, she looked like a complete country bumpkin newbie. By nightclub rules, people like this are absolutely not allowed in. However, Coco simply tugged her top down to reveal a deep cleavage. She actually slipped past security with ease. At this point, Mirror and Coco need to split up. Just after stepping into the main hall, Mirror is shocked by the scene. What kind of nightclub is this? It's practically a giant nightclub. Men and women alike were making out like crazy. How is she supposed to blend in here by herself? In less than a minute, she encounters the first person to hit on her. A blonde guy invites her to a private room to have some fun. Although she doesn't trust strange men, this really is a good chance to gather intel. Before she can agree, the man forcibly drags Mirror away. Meanwhile, Kim Soo-yuk, who had infiltrated the guest rooms, feels the atmosphere is eerie. The place is so quiet there isn't even an ant. He walks the entire floor without encountering a single living person. At that moment, footsteps finally sound behind him. He had long anticipated the visitor was unfriendly, but such a massive formation still surprises him. An old man, surrounded by a group of vampire fighters, steps forward. He is none other than Ivan, the one whose eye had been gouged out by Kim Soo-yuk. Ivan had prepared for this day for a long time. Katerina had reached an agreement with him. As long as he handed over Kim Soo-yuk to her, Ivan would be restored to power. If Kim Soo-yuk submitted obediently, all the better. If he resisted, then the dozens of fully armed vampires here were Ivan's prepared gift. The key is, they were equipped with a large amount of silver bullets. As for your girlfriend, she should already have drunk that drugged glass of wine, and someone will help take care of her for you. Meanwhile, the dim-witted Coco is having a grand time on the dance floor. Kim Soo-yuk has no help at all. The only way out is to surrender. But Ivan doesn't intend to let him off with just that. He sneers that the eye that had been gouged out still hasn't been returned. However, as early as when Kim Soo-yuk easily coaxed the Yamaguchi-gumi hideout out of Ivan, he had already seen through Ivan's trap. He certainly wouldn't believe that someone whose eye he had gouged out would so easily tell him the clue. All he had to do was to play along with the ruse. Soon, the sexily dressed Mirror slips into the nightclub indicated by the address with ease. Sure enough, Kim Soo-yuk, who entered at the same time, is intercepted by Ivan. But to his surprise, Kim Soo-yuk is not afraid. Instead, he smiles and thanks Ivan for pointing the way. Even the murderous Ivan begins to have doubts, puzzled about what this kid is up to. In fact, as soon as he received the mission to eliminate Anna, Kim Soo-yuk conducted extensive research. When Anna trafficked drugs, she never cooperated with other forces. On the contrary, she tried to swallow them up. Ivan's gang had long since been annexed by the Yamaguchi-gumi. So Kim Soo-hyuk knew it was a trap, yet still walked right into it. Ivan knew this guy must be confident to dare to go alone. But he still had to do everything he could to stop him. At his command, dozens of vampire thugs fire in unison. Yet Kim Soo-hyuk charges forward into the hail of bullets. You should know that a silver bullet hitting any part will severely wound a vampire. Not to mention hitting a vital spot like the eye. Incredibly, Kim Soo-hyuk actually uses his blade to slash apart all the bullets at extreme speed. In an instant, he moves into the enforcer's flanks to launch attacks. Ivan can't believe it and cries out that this is impossible. On the other side, Coco is unaware of her companion's battle. Fortunately, she is connected by earpiece. When she hears Kim Soo-hyuk report that the fight has begun, Coco immediately throws off her wig and goes to support. Ivan knows his days are numbered, yet he can still laugh. Although many of his vampire killers are slain in an instant, it only amplifies the unease in his heart. He mocks that sending a girl into the enemy's hands is Kim Soo-hyuk's mistake. The tipsy mirror has already been tied up. No matter what happens, she won't be conscious of it. Before the words have fallen, a bullet strikes Ivan in the shoulder. Kim Soo-hyuk counters that this is not the time to worry about others, is it? As for whether Mirror can get out of trouble, he is very confident. What really needs worrying about are the lives of these enforcers. Mirror grabs the hand that is groping her chest. The guard outside hears a scream and immediately turns back. He is greeted head-on by a flying foot. The kick snaps his chin up. Before he can see clearly, he is booted 10 meters away and ends up hanging on a car bumper. The crowd swarms to subdue Mirror, but she raises her leg again. In an instant, the intense light and her aura stun everyone present. With a slight exertion, Mirror's kick actually sends the car flying high, bowling over the thugs. This is the power of a Vatican bishop. Kim Soo-hyuk had long guessed the enemy would get Mirror drunk. He told her to pretend to be drunk, so they would move her to the real place of business. At that point, Coco would tail them in secret. But the biggest problem was how to ensure these thugs would target her. To that end, Kim Soo-hyuk specially purchased from an online shop a wig, a low-cut top, and an ultra-short skirt. This combo left Mirror speechless. Since her arm injury hadn't healed, it hurt with the slightest movement. Kim Soo-hyuk repeatedly warned her not to act rashly. Once she entered the underground passage, there would be no signal and she would be unable to call for help. While feigning drunkenness, she had already overheard that they had also kidnapped many girls. These poor girls might be suffering torture even now. The Vatican's mission is to save those harmed by vampires. So even if what lay below was hell, Mirror would bravely go on. But what exactly is the purpose of kidnapping these girls of unknown origin? Watching cars keep driving off and few coming in shows they are constantly moving the girls. In the rooms on both sides of the underground corridor, there are rows of medical equipment. This place is like a real prison. On the ground not far away, Mirror finds a vial of red reagent. The label shows that it is a vial of human blood. Suddenly, a chill sweeps over her, giving Mirror goosebumps all over. Interesting. How did she find this place? All human girls should be put in coffins. Who are you? She had clearly come up behind her, yet Mirror senses no presence at all. Mirror has already guessed the other party's identity. It has to be the boss of the Yamaguchi-gumi. Encountering the enemy leader while unarmed and injured, Mirror has already foreseen her fate. Instead of panicking, she calmly stands up, faces Katarina, and takes the initiative to identify herself. She introduces herself as Bishop Mirror of the Vatican Special Operations Team. Katarina suddenly realizes that she is the woman monopolizing Kim Soo-hyuk. Mirror knows that the odds are against her today. Yet she still charges, without hesitation, toward the venomous swarm of snakes. Coco puts her keen sense of smell to use, desperately sniffing various scents. But no matter what, she still can't find Mirror. It's not that there's no scent of Mirror's blood in the air. On the contrary, behind the door at the bottom of the stairs, there's a heavy reek of mingled fresh blood. There must be secret dealings going on here. Kim Soo-hyuk finds Mirror's dropped phone on the ground. According to the message, Mirror went into the secret base alone to rescue the hostages. With a mission to save lives from vampires, they have long put life and death aside. If anything happened, Kim Soo-hyuk could only inherit her will and complete the mission. Just as the anxious Kim Soo-hyuk is about to open the door, a pair of hands suddenly grabs his clothes. Coco smells an abnormal aura behind the door. It is the same feeling as when they fought Anna and the others before. This means that not only are there vampires nearby, they are extremely powerful individuals. Most likely one of the captains. Even more frightening, this presence isn't just one. It indicates there are at least 2 captain-class vampires on site. Coco is shaking all over from post-traumatic stress, but Kim Soo-hyuk steps through the door without hesitation. He knows Mirror's life hangs by a thread. Abandoned medical equipment can be seen everywhere here. Yet there are no signs of recent use, nor any people. Out of fear, Coco clutches Kim Soo-hyuk's arm tightly. Luckily she has this strong-willed man, otherwise, she would have died long ago. Suddenly his foot steps into a pool of fresh blood. His mind instantly snaps clear with fright. This has to be human blood. They see the blood trail curve and stretch along the corridor. It is as if someone had dragged a corpse along. As long as they follow the blood, they will surely find Mirror's trail. The eager to rescue Kim Soo-hyuk is called back by Coco. She has identified the scent of the blood underfoot as belonging to Mirror. Hearing this, Kim Soo-hyuk's pupils contract. Being dragged away in a trail of blood undoubtedly proves that Mirror has been captured by the enemy. Hearing this, Kim Soo-hyuk hesitates no longer and charges straight for the secret room's door. If they run into a captain-class vampire, it will be almost certain death. Kim Soo-hyuk kicks the door open, aims his gun forward, and prepares to fight. But the scene before him leaves him stunned. Countless naked girls are packed into tanks. Their bodies float in fluid with ventilators maintaining vital signs. Red reagent also seems to be injected into their veins. At the sight of this red reagent, Coco trembles all over with fear. She had suffered this torment too. Suddenly, Kim Soo-hyuk understands. These gangsters kidnap girls and then conduct experiments to turn them into vampires. This red reagent may be the very source of evil the police have been tracking. Given time to investigate this place, they could surely figure out the Yamaguchi Gumi's goal. Before that, what Kim Soo-hyuk cares about most is whether Mirror is here. Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly stops, eyes fixed ahead. Katarina makes her entrance, asking whether he is looking for her. The captured Mirror beside her keeps silent. Kim Soo-hyuk levels his gun at Katarina, ready at any moment to kill her and save Mirror. But Katarina has no intention of killing her for the time being. She states that although she isn't very interested in this body, it still has some use value. Just as Kim Soo-hyuk grinds his teeth in anger, slapping sounds come from the tank beside them. It turns out the girl inside has awakened and is begging him for help. Katarina is already planning to leave. With Mirror in hand, she isn't afraid Kim Soo-hyuk won't take the bait. Since their location is exposed, she believes a suicide squad will arrive soon. To ensure the base's secrets won't leak, this place has to be completely destroyed. As she leaves, she even blows a kiss to Kim Soo-hyuk. Then she swaggers off with Mirror like that. At this moment, Kim Soo-hyuk is somewhat at a loss. Coco still hasn't returned to normal, likely emotionally unstable due to trauma. If they chase Katarina now, they might be able to save Mirror. But if they don't rescue the girls left behind, they will surely be killed by the explosion. At that moment, the bishop's oath sounds again in his mind. To save humans from vampires, she had long been ready to sacrifice her life at any time. Kim Soo-hyuk thinks for a moment and makes a very difficult decision. He smashes his iron fist into the containers holding the girls. As soon as he touches the glass, alarms blare. The countdown on the display has only a dozen seconds left. If they want to get out alive, the only possibility is to rush for the exit as fast as possible. With an explosion, the entire building turns to ashes in the flames. A moment later, in a quiet corner 2 streets away, Kim Soo-hyuk is gasping for breath. Fire trucks and police cars wail past behind them, not discovering where they are hiding. Although he and Coco and the others escaped the explosion, Kim Soo-hyuk still can't accept it. Even though she had been within reach, he still hadn't been able to save Mirror. Their relationship had already gone beyond friendship. It was precisely because Katarina saw this that she abducted her. This operation not only failed to save anyone else, but also lost a key fighter. Except for the person before him. The girl who had begged Kim Soo-hyuk for help from inside the glass tank is now lying naked on the ground, draped in his coat. Of all those pitiable test subjects, only she survived. However, this wasn't because she was lucky. She also suffered fatal injuries when she was rescued. The reason she survived is that she alone had successfully turned into a vampire. Dusk deepens, and the girl slowly wakes up. The first thing she does is to ask Kim Soo-hyuk to kill her. It turns out the girl had been a nun serving God in a convent. Now she has been tainted by filthy blood. If not for Kim Soo-hyuk cutting open his palm and feeding her his blood, she probably wouldn't have made it this far. Thinking of this, the girl is overwhelmed with shame and wants only to die. This request is refused by Kim Soo-hyuk on the spot. He would never kill any victim. The girl lowers her head and ponders for a moment, as if she has understood something. She then picks up a shard of glass from the ground, and drives it hard into her own chest. However, the blood does not spurt as she had imagined. It turns out Kim Soo-hyuk has grabbed the sharp glass with his bare hand. Turning into a vampire overnight is confusing, isn't it? I went through the same confusion. Until that woman from the church appeared, she gave me a reason to live. And she risked her life to save others. The girl who was rescued was you. No matter what, you should live bravely, for those who risk their lives to save you. The girl can't hold back anymore and bursts into tears. She throws the bloodied glass to the ground. Heedless of her nakedness, she throws herself into Kim Soo-hyuk's arms, sobbing. Just as Mirror had hoped, they had at least saved one life. May she be safe as well. A few hours earlier, the little girl is studying how to deal with Mirror. After all, this woman had killed many vampire accomplices. Keeping her around would be a calamity. As for Kim Soo-hyuk, whom the gang had always wanted to recruit, he could be handled entirely through temptation. But the woman in front of her doesn't intend to do that. She has always looked down on Katarina, and even mocks her for not using her brain. Katarina can't swallow that insult and immediately lashes out with a whip kick at the woman. She demands how she dares to underestimate her. However, the venomous snake Katarina had dispatched lets out a shriek. With one hand, the woman squeezes hard and actually crushes that thick python to death. Katarina, of course, won't concede. She drives all the venomous snakes on her body to launch a full assault. Yet in the same instant, the woman takes care of all those snakes. She sneers that the other is adorably stupid, getting so arrogant just from drinking a little human blood. If not for Anna's orders, she would have taken her out long ago. Before she finishes speaking, the head of a dead viper suddenly bites down on her foot. Katarina sneers, saying she has never heard of any such rules. The woman smiles faintly and doesn't mind. Katarina attacks with full force and, in an instant, rushes right up to her. Everyone who had seen this move up to now had died. Yet the woman soundlessly slips behind her, then gives a light grab that leaves Katarina bleeding profusely. With that, their gap in strength is instantly clear. It turns out this person is Lily, leader of the Yamaguchi-gumi's 3rd squad, far stronger than the 5th squad's leader. Against such an opponent, their levels of strength are not even in the same tier. A head-on fight offers no chance of victory. Since Kim Soo-hyuk had previously promised Katarina he would try to rescue Miru again, she decides to listen to Lily on this matter for the time being. It has to be said, Lily's strategic ability is indeed impressive. When a swarm of pests arrives, if you want to eradicate them you can't just grab the one in front of you. You have to lure out the whole colony and wipe them out in one net. According to Lily's plan, the assassins should already have pinpointed the hideout of Kim Soo-hyuk and the others. With the slightest carelessness, Kim Soo-hyuk would be subdued by an assassin who slipped into the room. The man doesn't intend to kill him, but, like a puppet, to deliver a message for Katarina. The location where they are hiding Mirror is written in the note. When the time comes, only Kim Soo-hyuk can go alone, otherwise, Mirror will surely die. After the man concisely conveys the message, he coldly raises his gun. Kim Soo-hyuk shows no fear, but the man points the gun at his own temple. With a crisp gunshot, this messenger, who could have served as evidence, is also disposed of. True to form, Katarina excels at manipulating puppets and never leaves traces. But it also indirectly proves that information about Kim Soo-hyuk's group has long since been leaked. At present, the only way is to proceed step by step according to the information Katarina has sent. Coco now has a new discovery. The blood of the slain puppet is actually extremely similar to Mirror's. Presumably this puppet had taken part in the operation to move Mirror. As long as they follow the scent, they will definitely find where Mirror is hidden. As for the location marked on this piece of paper, it might just be a trap laid by Katarina. Kim Soo-hyuk decides to split up. He will keep the original plan to meet Katarina, while Coco will secretly follow the scent to rescue Mirror. However, Coco strongly objects to this. Her dearest friend Ayaka had died at this woman's hands. She had long hoped to personally slay her enemy. Kim Soo-hyuk understands very well how Coco feels at this moment. However, without Mirror's power for protection, these two vampires might already have been riddled with bullets by the Vatican's people. Ayaka was certainly the most precious to Coco. But right now, the two girls Mirror and Coco are, to Kim Soo-hyuk, also the closest people in the world. Coco grits her teeth, bows her head, and falls silent. After a bout of inner struggle, she ultimately accepts Kim Soo-hyuk's view. She asks Kim Soo-hyuk to spare that woman's life. She has to finish her off herself. Kim Soo-hyuk orders his men to assist Coco in completing the mission. They split into two routes to confuse the enemy. The real objective is to save Mira. As for the newly rescued female vampire, they will decide how to deal with her once Mira returns. If Coco wants to personally take down the woman who harmed her friend, then they have to speed up the operation. Because Kim Soo-hyuk can't guarantee he will still let that woman live after they meet. In an abandoned church under the moonlight, Kim Soo-hyuk pushes open the creaking door. A meticulously dressed woman smiles and says that she is especially beautiful today. Yet her words send a chill. "You're late. Today is our wedding." It is indeed decorated for a wedding, but the atmosphere is unnervingly eerie. The guests present are a group of expressionless vampires. Katarina asks the lovely groom why he is always late. Kim Soo-hyuk ignores her insinuation, mutters a curse under his breath, and draws his gun to instantly kill dozens of vampires on the spot. A vampire tries to ambush him from behind, but is blasted into gore by his unbelievable speed. A gunman lying in ambush in the distance is knocked down by a kick from Kim Soo-hyuk, then shot in the head. The lives of these ordinary underlings aren't worth much. Their corpses fit only to serve as Kim Soo-hyuk's shields. Kim Soo-hyuk thinks, "Crap, I'm out of handgun rounds," and the gunman in front of him is aiming at him. But that is fine. Kim Soo-hyuk dodges the shot with superb movement. He closes in quickly to control the shooter's gun hand, and slits the man's throat with one stroke. He then immediately draws a dagger, and spins to throw it, hitting the last vampire. Kim Soo-hyuk knows these are just the prelude. The real test is only beginning now. Kim Soo-hyuk points his gun at Katarina's head, and asks where she is hiding Mirror. But the woman, face full of excitement, pushes his gun barrel aside. She instead aims it at her own heart, saying that if he kills her, that woman will die too. The only way to save her is to be her adorable groom forever. In fact, Katarina had lived as a human for a long time, and her work had not been respectable. Every day she had to deal with different men. Because of that, she was terrified of her looks aging. Once she lost her beauty, those handsome boyfriends would abandon her. Precisely because of this longing, she picked up her life amid the vampire queen's slaughter. Anna said that if she had a strong desire, she would fulfill it for her. Anna dripped an extremely rare drop of progenitor's blood into her mouth. From then on, she gained eternal life. The condition was that she kill everyone she had ever dated, and devour their innards. Obviously, such a life was built in hell. And every time she came back to herself, she felt a sense of loss. Because this wasn't the life she wanted, and was completely different from her former joys. Now the only way to satisfy her was to find another handsome vampire. Unfortunately, the experiments had made no progress. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. An excited voice from a subordinate came from outside, saying they had finally found an exceedingly rare male vampire. Of course, that man was the 1 in 100 Kim Soo-hyuk. Compared with those good-looking but useless humans, he could naturally satisfy Katarina's desires. However, what Katarina cared about more was what this guy actually looked like. At the moment she first saw Kim Soo-hyuk's face head-on, Katarina couldn't help but laugh. That was also why, even with a gun pointed at her, she still naively wanted Kim Soo-hyuk to put down his hatred and indulge in pleasure. However, she grossly underestimated this man. Faced with the enemy's temptation, Kim Soo-hyuk rejected her decisively, saying that when it came to older ladies, he truly was powerless. How could Katarina possibly stomach that? She crushed the handgun in one grasp, declaring that she would treat this tactless guy as her plaything forever. According to Katarina's previous orders, the gang's elites kept a tight guard at the entrance of the secret base. Yet Coco silently appeared behind them. The guard spotted her and loudly demanded her identity. She did not respond, but used her extraordinary intuition to lock onto Mirror's location. The guards reacted, drawing their guns and firing at Coco. How could they be a match for Coco? In an instant, the dozen-odd men were beheaded. In an icy voice, Coco declared that anyone who blocked her would die. At this moment, Coco was in a killing frenzy. Facing the few remaining guards at the operating room door, she dodged all the bullets at extreme speed. She quickly took out the last of the killers. Coco pushed open the operating room's door. The doctors present were terrified, left stunned. Coco ignored them, her gaze fixed on Mirror lying on the bed. She was covered in tubes, undergoing some kind of experiment. A foolhardy doctor actually told Coco to get out, and was not spared a slap. At that point, the slightly sensible doctors all knew what to do. They could only watch as Coco carried the unconscious Mirror away on her back. The cool, detached look she had honed over many years finally came in handy. Coco thought these people were accomplices of the crime syndicate as well, just in a different way. She thought it was already over. But little did she know the ordeal had only just begun. Keeping Kim Soo-hyuk's admonitions in mind, Coco's conviction was to rescue Miro no matter what. She also still cherished the thought of personally taking down Katarina. However, things didn't go as she wished. A familiar voice stopped her. "Long time no see, I wonder if she still remembers me?" The newcomer smiled coldly, saying that if she wanted to take someone else's property, shouldn't she ask for permission? This person was none other than Lily, leader of the Yamaguchi Gumi's third squad. Elsewhere, under Katarina's command, countless venomous pit vipers lunged at Kim Soo-hyuk. He immediately raised his gun in return fire, the bullets precisely hitting the snakes' heads. However, the slain venomous snakes instantly revived, sprouting another head. The enemy's numbers actually doubled. If this continued, he would either be bitten to death or literally exhausted to death. At the same time, due to the poison gas Katarina released, the hall's air was gradually thinning to the point of being unbreathable. Katarina saw his plight and let out a cold sneer. The suffocating poisonous mist, combined with the swarm's attacks, had pushed Kim Soo-hyuk to his limits. This was precisely the moment for a hunter to capture its prey. When Kim Soo-hyuk sensed something was wrong, Katarina had already appeared silently behind him. "Stop struggling and be good." But the man showed not a hint of fear and said flatly that she had taken the bait. With a flash of blade light, countless snake heads were cut off to the ground. The panicked Katarina had no time to react, before a streak of blade light swept past her eyes. They saw Kim Soo-hyuk cleave off the serpent's head with a single stroke, and even leave a gash across Katarina's face. Katarina was puzzled. Was this still the rookie she could toy with at will? Before she could react, Kim Soo-hyuk had already rushed in with his blade to her chest. Unexpectedly, he merely knocked Katarina's face askew. Suddenly, Katarina spewed nauseating green poison gas from her mouth. Kim Soo-hyuk's vision was blocked. Unable to find a way out, he had to retreat. Katarina took the chance to open the distance and catch her breath. This time, without the cover of poison fog, Katarina was completely exposed before Kim Soo-hyuk. At this rate, she would surely lose once her stamina ran out. It turned out Kim Soo-hyuk had set a trap long ago. Those seemingly casual shots were actually dispersing the poison fog. The bullets accelerated the poison's airflow and quickly diluted the toxic air. And his show of panic was a tactic to lull her guard. Ferocious offense was his true strength. After just that one battle at the hotel, Kim Soo-hyuk had actually figured out all of Katarina's combat habits. Kim Soo-hyuk said that Katarina had best surrender now. Beating him was almost impossible. This was also the first time Katarina had suffered a facial injury in battle. Scarier still, this scar would not heal. This time, even though she had planned to keep Kim Soo-hyuk as a boy toy, Katarina was thoroughly enraged. She raised her hand lightly, and countless venomous snakes surged in from all directions. Soon, they surrounded them. Prior to this, these snakes had been constantly sucking human blood, then sending the blood back into Katarina's body. Before she became impossible to subdue, Kim Soo-hyuk had to take her down first. But one venomous snake suddenly clamped down hard on his wrist. It was so fast that even Kim Soo-hyuk didn't react in time. Being bitten by a snake meant losing combat capability. Given Katarina's nature, she would surely torture him to death. Unexpectedly, the snake suddenly left his arm. It clambered up onto his shoulder and gripped his neck tightly. Yet this level of attack was just a trick. The real ordeal was only beginning. With a scream, Kim Soo-hyuk's right arm was actually severed. Under the effect of the venom, his body was completely unable to move. His limbs were controlled by the snakes. Katarina, using great force, hurled Kim Soo-hyuk viciously into the ceiling. With a loud crash, he lay bleeding all over, gasping amid the rubble. But he told himself he had to hold on. If he lost to Katarina here, he would never get close enough to Anna to take revenge. But Katarina raised her staff and aimed at Kim Soo-hyuk, and this strike hit him square in the heart. The clamorous world seemed to stop in an instant. He couldn't even hear Katarina's words, unable to make any movement. If it came down to his own lack of strength, he would have no regrets. It was just that he felt sorry for the companions who relied on him. Especially Mirror, whom he could never stop worrying about. At this moment his breath was thin as a thread. He looked done for. "If you had listened to my arrangements, you wouldn't have ended up like this." Katarina nailed him to the church's cross, but didn't kill him. She declared that this man had actually left a scar on her face, and that she would make him pay the price. At this time, Kim Soo-hyuk was still conscious. If he died this easily, it would be far too boring for Katarina. After all, a male vampire appears only once in thousands of years. Suddenly, the woman sensed something wrong. Why was this guy suddenly tensing all over, gritting his teeth? Could it be that he had awakened the legendary power? Kim Soo-hyuk's eyes took on a terrifying blood-red hue, his facial muscles taut. With a roar, his severed right arm actually grew back miraculously. This astonishing recovery speed even surpassed Katarina's. With a clang, the long staff pinning him fell to the ground, and he leapt down from midair, landing steadily. Even the terrible wound in his chest healed at an astonishing speed. Katarina knew he was about to counterattack. But when Kim Soo-hyuk sliced off her arm with a single palm, she didn't react at all. Such speed and destructive power were beyond belief. Strong as Katarina was, she could only be crippled. But it wasn't over yet. Kim Soo-hyuk followed up with a sudden thrust, stabbing solidly into her lower back. Accompanied by a shriek, Katarina was blasted away into the wall. She protested that only 4 months had passed. It was impossible for the other side to be this strong. Talk as she might, Katarina still gnashed her teeth in jealousy. If she could obtain better abilities, she would have achieved awakening long ago. She controlled countless venomous snakes to attack in waves. Kim Soo-hyuk shattered every ambushing snake with a single punch apiece. Such a rapid learning ability was far beyond the reach of ordinary people. and his fists never missed. Katarina had no advantage at all in close combat. So she made the snake swarm spray clouds of poison, using the terrain to hide herself and secretly extend her attack distance. Who knew none of this could escape Kim Soo-hyuk's eyes? This merciless punch triggered a violent explosion. Battered black and blue, Katarina panted heavily. Now, Kim Soo-hyuk's power exceeded her imagination. The gap between him and Katarina, the so-called snake woman, was fully revealed. Suddenly, she saw the staff on the ground. Just as Kim Soo-hyuk charged in with full force, Katarina feigned composure and met him head-on. On the side, she ordered the snakes to quietly attack with the staff. In his out-of-control state, Kim Soo-hyuk was actually run straight through the head by the staff. Katarina grew giddy with triumph, thinking that with such an injury he couldn't survive, no matter how strong he was. But things were not so. Kim Soo-hyuk let out a low growl from his throat. He ignored the fatal wound piercing his skull, and drove a fist through Katarina's heart. By rights he should already be dead, yet he could still mount such a counterattack. Katarina thought to herself that he was truly a monster. Kim Soo-hyuk's ultra-fast straight punches fell on Katarina like pounding rain. She never expected that after a life of indulgence, she would end up dying at a man's hands. Perhaps this is Katarina's fate. From that day on, everything was already set. That day, Lily introduced herself. "Hello, everyone, I'm the new leader of Squad 3. However, the several captains did not welcome her warmly. The highly reputed Katarina planned to give this new captain a show of force. She questioned how, as an obvious newcomer, she had the right to lead Squad 3. Katarina noticed that Lily's pupils were different from others. She realized the other party had already awakened. The enraged Katarina threw a punch at Lily. When it came to people who looked down on her, Katarina never hesitated to strike. But this time she had picked the wrong target. Not only did Lily catch the punch one-handed, she also made an enemy of her from then on. With a light flick of her foot, Katarina lost her balance. She had never imagined she would lose to this newcomer. However, Lily's follow-up punch almost took her life. Fortunately, Lily did not go for the kill. It was only a warning to Katarina. She coldly declared that power is everything and the weak do not deserve to live. In her eyes, Katarina saw an extremely terrifying killing intent. Just like Kim Soo-hyuk's frenzied state at this moment. Covered in blood, Katarina felt her hatred for Kim Soo-hyuk surge. "Roaring won't intimidate me, you red-eyed punk." Countless pit vipers bit down on Kim Soo-hyuk's limbs, then slammed him hard down from midair. Kim Soo-hyuk was struck by her powerful energy until his mouth filled with blood. But the woman didn't like this move, because awakening would make her looks ugly. Her form was practically like a mermaid, but her head became extremely grotesque. Katarina declared that today was the day Kim Soo-hyuk would die. Hearing this, Kim Soo-hyuk flew into a rage, and suddenly charged at Katarina with his life on the line. Unruffled, Katarina summoned a death magic orb from her palm. If you're hit by this magic, you'll be reduced to ashes on the spot. Sure enough, the super adhesion and destructive power forced Kim Soo-hyuk to stagger back again and again. No matter how fast his wounds healed, he couldn't completely shake off the effects of the snake venom. The toxin that had just struck him had the terrifying ability to dissolve the body into gas. Every cell in his body could not escape the fate of being melted. With a thunderous boom, the venom exploded inside him. His agonized wail echoed through the night sky. The palm that had just brushed the poison mist had already been corroded down to bare bone. Even with awakened abilities, Kim Soo-hyuk was still far from being able to defeat Katarina. Katarina sneered, "Pitiful human, no matter how hard you try you can't defeat yourself." Just then, Katarina's sixth sense told her something had happened. In the distant corridor, a lithe figure flickered in and out of view. Accompanied by an inhuman keening, a familiar figure emerged. Katarina was perplexed as to why the guy who should have been dissolved was still alive. Could his regeneration really be faster than the rate of dissolution? There was no time to think. The man's iron fist was already smashing toward Katarina's head. Katarina had no time to dodge and could only catch it with her bare hands. On the other side, Coco took a car to rescue Kim Soo-hyuk. The just-fainted mirror finally woke up, and at this moment her head was still in a muddled state. She had already forgotten everything that happened after seeing Katarina down below. Coco, however, had all along thought that Kim Soo-hyuk had infiltrated the base alone to make a deal with Katarina. Soon, Mirror's party also found the church's front door. Before Mirror could speak, Coco rushed in. Her original intent was to remind Kim Soo-hyuk what Katarina's finishing move is. But when they saw the hellish carnage here, they couldn't help but cry out. Meanwhile, this brutal fight was just about to end. Only with a blow using all his strength did Kim Soo-hyuk finally disperse the poison orb. However, his face was ferocious, mouth open in a roar. This form was an ability he had never had before. At this time, Coco and the others also located the battlefield. They called out to Kim Soo-hyuk nonstop to cheer him on. Now it was Katarina's turn to be surprised. Lily had clearly promised to take them out. How had these people escaped? In just a second of distraction, Kim Soo-hyuk flashed forward to her again and appeared right in front of her. The current Kim Soo-hyuk was far stronger than before. Beaten so miserably, Katarina had no choice but to bring out her ultimate secret technique. Kim Soo-hyuk's pupils contracted, as if foreseeing something terrifying. Katarina's 2 legs degenerated and merged into a long tail, and countless pit vipers sprouted behind her. The vipers kept spraying highly toxic acid from their mouths. The anxious Mira shouted, "Stop at once." But Katarina cut her off with a cold sneer. She said not to rush, the next one would be her. Although Katarina didn't understand how these people had gotten away from Lily and come here, the pressing matter now was to deal with them first. Facing Katarina in her second form, she gathered all her power, preparing to kill him on the spot with the highest concentration venom. No longer entangling with these people, she would use an unprecedented venom bomb to wipe them out completely. Although he was Katarina's favorite target, he still could not escape destruction by the strongest poison technique. But the result was unexpected. When the smoke cleared, Kim Soo-hyuk had actually disappeared. Such an instantaneous movement ability was absolutely not something he himself could pull off. The one who acted must have been someone else. Sure enough, a figure on the high roof beam waved at her. The newcomer turned out to be Lily. Katarina stared at her in shock, a faint unease in her heart. Lily coldly delivered a shocking order. Due to poor performance, Anna has decided to purge Katarina and her subordinates. According to Anna's plan, Kim Soo-hyuk has been developing well, so he no longer needs those people to play with him. This is the fate of the weak, to be thrown onto the trash heap. Already having found her an eyesore, Lily looked even more smug. Yet in the instant Katarina zoned out, she was suddenly seized by Kim Soo-hyuk, who lunged out and sank his teeth into her carotid artery. No matter how she struggled, she couldn't shake the man off. This was Katarina's final chapter. She had chased pleasure all her life, yet now, in desperate straits, her eyes brimmed with tears. She lamented that if this ending had long since been set, why had they made her drink Anna's blood and turn into an immortal vampire? But now nothing could be undone. With a thud, Katarina's body fell to the ground like a punctured ball. This outcome took Mira greatly by surprise. After all, this man had actually taken down a captain-class vampire all by himself. But at this moment she worried about another matter. Kim Soo-hyuk had transformed into a second form during the fight, which is a highly unstable state. He turned his head, his fiery red eyes fixed on the two of them. Mira thought, this is bad. Just as Mira was thinking how to deal with him, Coco rushed up first. She forcibly pinned Kim Soo-hyuk down. Mira was speechless at this reckless move. Straddling Kim Soo-hyuk, Coco demanded loudly why he hadn't kept his promise to leave Katarina to her. Kim Soo-hyuk swung a slap toward Coco. Seeing this, Mira cast a spell, preparing to stop Kim Soo-hyuk. Unexpectedly, he wasn't out of control. Instead, he gently stroked Coco's head. Sorry, there was nothing I could do either. At this moment Kim Soo-hyuk also saw Mira. It's really great to see you're okay. After that, Kim Soo-hyuk gradually lost consciousness. When he slowly opened his eyes, it was already the next morning. What came into view was Coco. In yesterday's battle, the three of them ultimately survived. Katarina, meanwhile, had been sent to the morgue to be prepared for dissection. Even the special operations team sent top experts as escort. Yet there was no ripple in his eyes. Mira frowned and stared at him. The next second, a bag of fresh human blood was thrown by her onto Kim Soo-hyuk's face. This was Mira's reward for him. Killing a captain-class vampire on his very first mission, and saving a young girl as well, an unprecedented achievement. In fact, this wasn't his first fight with vampires. The first time he received a purge mission, he not only suffered a crushing defeat but also lost a brother's life. Even though this time he risked everything and succeeded in killing a captain, there was still no joy of victory. If at this moment he had entered a loss-of-control state, he could very likely have harmed his companions. However, Mira believed he wouldn't go out of control. Although he had lost consciousness when entering a berserk state, Kim Soo-hyuk had, after drinking Katarina's blood, regained autonomy and even gently patted Coco's head. If he could control this unstable power, his strength would surely increase dramatically. Although this was only a hypothesis, Mira keenly noticed a change. Kim Soo-hyuk's eyes had become a deep red, completely different from before. Unlike the earlier cyan, he now was closer to an adult vampire. And the next stage change would be red irises with black sclera. It is called heterochromic eyes, exceedingly rare. Coco claimed she had seen this before, but although she had once been the leader of the 8th Squad, she knew nothing about vampires' mysterious eyes. If even a captain level doesn't understand, then vampires who reach this tier must be extremely rare. You should know, having severed limbs rapidly regenerate is not an ordinary skill. Taken together, these factors made Mirror's inference likely to be correct. This woman truly lives up to being a bishop, she knows a lot. For her consistent trust and encouragement, Kim Soo-hyuk expressed sincere thanks. By now he had practically become the team's leader, and even joked about Mirror's acting on her own. Mirror knew this guy's wings had hardened and he wanted to stand on equal footing with her. In any case, this mission could be considered a complete success. There was only one thing he needed to do now: keep getting stronger. Shortly afterward, Lucia arrived at the hotel. Having heard that Mirror had a close call this time, she rushed over. This time she was determined to give Kim Soo-hyuk a proper lecture, so he'd stop causing trouble and getting Mirror hurt. Before she could knock, she heard someone inside speaking. "Please be gentle, it's my first time." Hearing this, Lucia pulled back the hand she had stretched out. Her vivid imagination kicked in again. Could it be that Kim Soo-hyuk doesn't even spare vampires? Poor Sister Mirror, you're still in the hospital, and he's doing this. Coco, a bit tired, asked how much longer they had to keep doing this. Hearing this, a scene immediately sprang to mind for Lucia. In that scene, Coco was feigning pained wails. Her nosebleed gushed. "Damn you, Kim Soo-hyuk. How dare you hurt Sister Mirror?" Lucia pounded on the door, accusing them of going too far and saying she would tell her sister about this. Lucia ran off in tears, leaving two bewildered vampires in the room. After Katarina was dealt with, a month quickly passed. These days, Kim Soo-hyuk spent his time sparring with Miru. Kim Soo-hyuk also realized there had been an element of luck in defeating Katarina. When facing stronger enemies in the future, to improve the odds, he must first be able to use his abilities stably. Relying on luck alone will lead to trouble sooner or later. As they spoke, Miru actually lopped off his arm with a single sword strike. If he wanted to improve the odds, she did so to force out his heterochromic state. Based on previous battles, Miru inferred that excessive blood loss might trigger that state. In any case, he's a vampire who can regenerate limbs. Cutting off a few parts isn't a big deal. If he wanted to gain the ability to freely control the heterochromic state, he had to tough it out. Kim Soo-hyuk suddenly let out a low growl. After a wave of pain, when he lifted his head, his eyes had already turned scarlet. But he seemed completely out of control. The experiment had failed. Completely unconscious, he charged at Mirror after his limb regenerated. The woman merely stood there quietly. Just as the iron palm was about to strike her, Mirror softly called Lucia's name. A moment later, Kim Soo-hyuk slowly came to. Through the barrier, he saw Mirror looking at him with concern. Counting this time, they had already failed 10 times, even the plasma was used up. Yet he still wanted to keep trying, because the next mission would be even tougher. According to earlier intel, to prevent leaks, Katarina blew up her lab before retreating. She secretly shipped those drugs and materials overseas. Once the agencies confirmed the location, Kim Soo-hyuk's squad would deploy immediately. As for the nun rescued in Russia, although she was a vampire test subject, Dominic, after confirming she posed no harm, let her stay at the church to continue as a nun. When she left, she gratefully asked Lucia to convey her thanks. After hearing this, Kim Soo-hyuk fell silent. Though he had done a good deed, if he had been stronger, perhaps all the girls in that room could have survived. Maybe Mirror wouldn't have been taken by Katarina. The enemies ahead would only be stronger, so Kim Soo-hyuk had to grow. Hearing this, Mira smiled, saying that was right, like a true warrior. Only with continuous training can one break through one's limits. Coco, who was off to the side wolfing down food, seemed deep in thought. A moment later, a strange mood filled the room. Coco proposed that she also wanted to drink Kim Soo-hyuk's blood. She knew very well that if she had been sent to face Katarina head-on back then, she might have been killed long ago. Coco also wanted to become stronger, so she could protect what mattered most. She declared that today she would make an exception for Kim Soo-hyuk, and that from now on he would be her lackey. Kim Soo-hyuk understood that after witnessing Katarina's kind of high-intensity combat, Coco felt a profound powerlessness. Her friend dying before her eyes had left her dejected, and now she wanted to become Kim Soo-hyuk's most loyal partner. Kim Soo-hyuk said nothing, simply baring his neck in silence. However, the strange noises the two of them were making left the woman outside flushed with shame and anger. Inside, they seemed to be saying some ambiguous things about sucking something, which couldn't help but make Lucia's thoughts run wild. The scene shifts. In a truck in a nearby parking lot, a dissection is underway. The deceased's abdominal cavity actually has no major organs. In other words, this is not a real corpse. Katarina, the defeated leader of Group 5, is still alive. Meanwhile, a frail masked figure walks along the midnight street. Not far away, a group of gunmen are chatting idly. They laugh and tell the child to leave. But the child's red pupils startle them. The child coldly relays a message to their boss. Katerina has come to see him. Not long after, a voice rang out in a midnight alley, saying the other party had really changed. The woman was named Natalie, deputy leader of Group 4. Berenice, also a deputy leader, said nothing. A rough voice cursed with a laugh that she'd already told her not to over-rely on vampiric skills and to strengthen her own power first. This was Abigail, leader of Group 4. The woman opposite them immediately cursed and told them to shut up. If that idiot Lily hadn't stood by and watched her die, how would she have ended up like this? At the time, Katerina had bled dry, yet clung to a fleeing juvenile snake. Using the poison fog as cover, she barely clawed back a life. Even so, Katerina's lab was destroyed. Though she was resentful, at least she was alive. Berenice brought new orders. Relocate immediately, destroy all on-site materials and records, and transfer all data to her lab. The reborn Katerina had almost no combat power and could no longer act rashly. Moreover, Berenice was indeed qualified to take over her research results. After all, she was someone capable of creating such a drug. Abigail, of course, was quite pleased with herself, and even boasted that her subordinates were all elites. Then everyone turned their gaze to Natalie, who was drooling. You call this idiot an elite? In fact, Katerina had come this time to tell Abigail news about Ayaka. Your disciple is dead. Hearing this, Abigail dug her nails into the sofa, and, suppressing her emotions, asked in a low voice who exactly had killed Ayaka. Katerina said a lot, but her real aim was to frame Kim Soo-hyuk. She claimed that the vampire named Kim Soo-hyuk had killed her and almost finished her off too. It looked like Abigail believed it. She never would have imagined that the one who killed her disciple was right before her eyes. This time it would not be easy for Kim Soo-hyuk to win. Unlike a gang matriarch like Katerina, Abigail was a bona fide combat elite, known as a human weapon. Katerina intended to use her to kill Kim Soo-hyuk, and then completely crush that woman Anna's plan. Who knew Abigail had no intention of avenging her disciple. She calmly said that dying on the battlefield only meant she was too weak, and was nothing to regret. She also stressed that rather than attacking everywhere, it was more advantageous to defend here. This made Katerina so angry she flopped onto the sofa and sulked. A newly minted vampire defeating 3 squad leaders in a row is an unprecedented crisis. Even more astonishing, Kim Soo-hyuk has evolved heterochromic eyes. Of course, Katerina was still stubborn and wouldn't admit she was weak. The next second she was grabbed by the throat by Abigail and hoisted high. At this moment Abigail wanted only one answer. Where's that Kim Soo-hyuk now? When the news arrived that Katerina was still among the living, everyone in the Vatican was shocked. But test reports don't lie, and the autopsy showed that the so-called corpse of that one didn't have a single organ. During this time, although Kim Soo-hyuk had drunk Katerina's blood, he was unable to use her abilities. Mirror suggested it might be because Katerina wasn't dead. Kim Soo-hyuk disagreed. He could now steadily control the duration of the heterochromic eyes, and it was clear he had absorbed Ayaka's ability. However, gaining an ability required certain conditions to be met. Katerina's abilities were ones he couldn't use. The difference between the two was perplexing. Suddenly, as if sensing something, Coco caught a familiar scent drifting over. Under the night sky, the shadows of 2 men loitered at the building's entrance. They were today's guards on duty. Abigail suddenly appeared upstairs and asked if they knew Kim Soo-hyuk. The man was startled by her and hurriedly cursed at her to get lost. The woman, however, shattered his skull with a single punch. Seeing his companion killed, the other guard drew his blade and charged at Abigail. The woman stood motionless, choosing to take the blow with her body. The stab was clearly aimed at the heart, yet it was stopped dead by Abigail's muscles, unable to go another half-inch. She then grabbed the dagger in one hand, and with a slight squeeze, crushed it to pieces. She asked repeatedly, and each time it was the same question. Tell me, where is Kim Soo-hyuk? At midnight, the squad was jolted awake by a sudden tremor. Their men brought bad news. The Yamaguchi-gumi were attacking the building. They immediately prepared for battle and notified all departments for assistance. To their shock, the one who came from the other side was a single woman. Abigail's objective in coming here was very clear: to challenge Kim Soo-hyuk. Yet among the dozens present, no one dared step forward. In such an atmosphere, everyone was too tense to speak. Abigail, unhurried, shouted in a deep voice. Kim Soo-hyuk, if you don't come, I'll take them all out one by one.